this meeting, as you know, we've lost a loved colleague that was very special to us. And so I would like to say at this time that we're going to adjourn this meeting in his memory. But because we're all here now, and it's a nice, respectful way to start off our day, and maybe it'll keep us from crying later, I'd like to have a few moments of silence so that we can ponder on how much Mr. Dupree meant to us. Thank you so much. If he were here, he'd be texting me saying, "Get on with it, Becky. We need to get this meeting going." So please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mary Jane, will you lead us?
Ready to begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. President Kenneman, will you call the roll?
Trustee O'Neill.
Present.
Trustee Wilson.
Present.
Trustee Sanchez.
Present.
Trustee Stefan.
Present.
Trustee Broughton.
Present.
And Trustee Campbell will be joining us, Student Trustee Campbell will be joining us later.
Great. Pursuant to Government Code Section 5495-4.2b2, the board may take action on items of business not appearing on the posted agenda upon the determination of 2/3 vote of the board. Or if less than 2/3 of the members are present, a unanimous vote of those present. That there is a need to take, we need to know there is a need to take action, and that the need for action came to the attention of the local agency subsequent to the agenda being posted as specified. Are there any such corrections or additions? Okay. Item number 2, right. Okay, and that item does come under the consent. There are copies on the back. It will be listed as number 4. A person has been added so that they can be appointed to a vacant position of supervisor maintenance grounds effective November the 10th, 14. So those are at the back. And Lisa, do you need to speak to that anymore?
I just will own this item. We have been without a supervisor of grounds as well as a supervisor of maintenance and operations facilities. As we know, Steve Renew, our beloved, retired in June, and the staff has done a wonderful job keeping the ship afloat, but we were lucky enough to complete interviews and found a wonderful applicant, and I wanted to bring him on prior to, I think mid-December was the time after the next board meeting, so we're trying to expedite the process, which is why we request this addition today.
Great, thank you. So, do we need, we can just add that. I don't believe we need any action. Okay, so we have before us the agenda as posted with that one addition to the consent item. The area is Human Resources, item number 2. The title of that group is Employment Group A, Appointments. Do I have a motion that we approve the agenda as presented?
So move.
Second.
Having a motion and a second as presented, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear that as a unanimous vote. Okay. So at this time, we're going into closed session. We should return at 10:30. See you then. To order, there is nothing to report out from closed session. No action was taken. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Persons who wish to speak to the board on any item may do so at this time. There's a limit of 3 minutes per person and 15 minutes per topic unless further time is granted by the board. Your comments will be timed, and you'll be asked to stop speaking when the timer sounds. Please understand the board welcomes your comments, but is not able to respond to those comments. I do have a request. Jack Tapershay wishes to speak. Jack, would you please come forward?
Do I center myself right here?
You, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. There's an appropriate time for everything. As union president 10 years ago, I came to these meetings and joined with the district leadership to solve an equity issue over faculty compensation. At that time, faculty had not received a step increase in over 13 years, and over half of the faculty were at the top step for many years. Using a formula designed to take the pressure off the budget, all of us joined cohesively and were able, over the course of 2 years, to add multiple steps to our pay scale. Today, a decade later, 50% of the faculty are again at the top or just below the step ceiling. The current Faculty Association has devised a longevity plan to once again alleviate the situation without overheating the budget. I ask you to please be proactive, study the merits of the association's proposal, and realize it is the appropriate time for action. And I've got just over a minute, so I know we lost Stan Dupree this week, and everyone has very strong feelings, but what I'd like to share is there was something about Stan, and I love to see him whenever he was helping a student, because Stan was the kind of guy who would always have this little smile come out of his face. So I'd ask all of you, anytime you see someone do the right thing, think of Stan Dupree. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we have a number of proclamations on our agenda, and so I would like to have these read at this time. It will release those people that need to go back to their classes or to do their other work. So, and then we will actually vote on them later. So the first proclamation is International Education Week, and it will be read by Laura Silva. I'm going to let Laura introduce herself. An international student from Brazil, rather than butcher her name. Laura, please come forward and introduce yourself to us so I don't have the opportunity to make your name sound really different.
Good morning. It's Laura Silva de Arruda. Whereas the first International Education Week was first held in 2000 and was a joint initiative of the U.S. Department of State and Education, and whereas today International Education Week is celebrated in more than 100 countries worldwide and is an opportunity to celebrate the benefits of international education and exchange worldwide. Whereas exchanges are critical to developing mutual understanding and respect, building leadership abroad, fostering an appreciation for the U.S., and investing in the future relationship between Americans and people around the world. And now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Desert Community College District Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, and students recognize and appreciate the many benefits of international education. And be it further proclaimed that the Board of Trustees of the Desert Community College District is pleased to acknowledge the week of November 17th to 21, 2014 as International Education Week. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Phi Theta Kappa Week.
Jeff Wolf. Whereas Phi Theta Kappa was founded in 1918 as an honor society for students at two-year colleges. And whereas the American Association of Community Colleges recognizes Phi Theta Kappa as the official honor society for two-year colleges in 1929, and whereas participation in Phi Theta Kappa has grown to over 2 million members in over 1,250 chapters worldwide, and whereas the Beta Rho Iota chapter of Phi Theta Kappa at the College of the Desert is in its inaugural stages and has over 500 members, and whereas the week of September 22nd through 26th, 2014 is recognized nationally as Phi Theta Kappa Week, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Board of Trustees of Desert Community College District is pleased to recognize October 27th through 31st, 2014 as Phi Theta Kappa Week at College of the Desert.
Thank you so much. National Native American Heritage Month.
Thank you. Whereas our nation is inextricably linked to the histories of the Native Americans who first inhabited this great land, and whereas their history speaks to us through the names of our cities, lakes, and rivers, the food on our tables, the magnificent ruins of ancient communities, and whereas they have great pride in their cultural, spiritual, linguistic, and kinship bonds, now therefore be it proclaimed that the Desert Community College District Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, and students recognize and appreciate the many lasting contributions of Native Americans, and be it further proclaimed that the Board of Trustees of the Desert Community College District is pleased to acknowledge the month of November as National Native American History Month.
Thank you. And the Upward Bound 50th Anniversary.
Good morning. My name is Monica Cabrera. I'm the Upward Bound Grant Support Assistant. Whereas the Upward Bound program first began in 1964 as a key element of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty, whereas Upward Bound began as an experimental program in the Office of Economic Opportunity in 1964, enrolling 2,061 participants at 17 programs, and currently serves more than 80,000 students in 964 programs nationwide. Whereas Upward Bound was the country's first federal program to prepare low-income first-generation students for college, whereas the Upward Bound program is celebrating 50 years of helping high school students go from poverty to the middle class through higher education. Now, therefore be it proclaimed that the Desert Community College District Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, and students recognize and appreciate the many benefits of Upward Bound, and be it further proclaimed that the Board of Trustees of the Desert Community College District is pleased to acknowledge the 50th anniversary of the Upward Bound program. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Introduction of new staff.
I'm getting there. Thank you, Angela. I'm so glad you joined us. Okay, it's my pleasure to introduce several new people to the college. I'd like to start with our administrative assistant, there we go, administrative assistant, kinesiology and athletics, Kristen Onofrio. Hi, Kristen. We have a new administrative assistant also in admission and records, Patricia Espinoza. Come on up. And a new counselor, Frank Ramirez. And a new senior groundskeeper, Jairo Reynoso. We want to thank you for joining the family, and you can say hi or anything if you'd like.
We can do a picture up here. Good. That's such a good opportunity to get to meet our new staff, so I'm very glad that we're doing that.
Thank you.
So minutes, the next item on the agenda is the minutes. Are there any corrections to the minutes of the regular meeting of September the 19th, 2014? Hearing no corrections, they stand as approved. The reports, first up, ASCOD. John, we try to do that so you can actually get back to work, to school. So thank you for coming.
I really appreciate that. Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, senior administration, and distinguished guests. The following is the ASCOD report for the month of October. I'd like to start off with saying that Club Rush was very successful. More than 15 clubs participated, and over 400 students signed up to join a club. The clubs also had a fundraiser with Penny Wars, and they raised $63 for Martha's Village Education. The Interclub Council now has a full executive board, and they're very pleased about that. And ASCOD would like to thank everyone that participated in the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. One of our own, Tish Lacey, actually volunteered to be one of the people up there. And I'd like to thank everybody that did that because it really shows what College of the Desert community really is about. So thank you. ASCOD will be hosting Homecoming Tailgate Party on Tuesday, October 21st from 10 to 2 p.m. in the ASCOD quad right there by the Beeps Cafe. We'll be having food for students, games, cotton candy, and dunk tank, so it should be a lot of fun. ASCOD will also be hosting a homecoming dance on that Saturday, the 25th, from 8 to 11, I think, 8 to 11 p.m. And there'll be free snacks and water for the students there as well. It's open to all College of the Desert students with no charge. ASCOD has also created a committee that will be working with the Food Advisory Committee on a survey to solicit the opinions of students and staff about the food services here at College of the Desert. And ASCOD will be sending 6 students to the California Community College Student Affairs Association, or CSAW for short, if you don't want to say the whole name. The students will leave today around 12 with an advisor and will return on Sunday. And the Smoking Policy Committee and the Honors Program Task Force are continuing to meet weekly and have made significant progress. And that concludes the report from ASCOD for the month of October.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
COD Foundation.
Good morning. The season has definitely started. I know school has been in session for a while, but now our fundraising season is really kicking off. And part of the core of reaching out to the community is having tours of the campus. Between now and December 4th, we're going to have 8 of them. We have lined up on October 23rd, Segovia is coming over for a tour, the Desert Business Association October 29th, the McCallum Muses and Patronesses on the November 5th. Our President Circle potential members are doing November 13th. PEO Chapter WI November 18th. The Academic Angels are bringing potential guests to become Academic Angels on the 20th of November, and the Indio Women's Club is coming on December 4th. So as you can see, that's just a very short microcosm of the type of tours that we'll be giving throughout the year. Now, December 5th, there will be the President Circle kickoff event from 4 to 6. We'll be touring 3 buildings, the New Child Development Center building, the Applied Science, and then the reception will conclude at the Visual Arts building, where there'll be a reception. So that we have a chance for our President Circle member and potential guests, hopefully to become new members, that they drag along for that tour on December 5th. Now, the Academic Angels are getting cranked up. They're having their welcome back reception at Mark Nickerson's house on the 30th, And then, of course, their kind of signature Citizens of Distinction on December 3rd, where they're honoring Penny Mason as the patron angel, Betty Francis as the community angel, Tricia Gearline of the Clinton Foundation for the Rising Angel, and Dan Martinez as the most inspirational angel. I've left invitations for everybody. They have gone out. We are now starting our publicity campaign to get people to the Citizens of Distinction event. In February, you also have a brochure for our Brian Stokes Mitchell Stepping Out for COD event at the McCallum. That's kind of our signature every year event. Brian Stokes Mitchell is a tremendous Broadway performer. I'm really looking forward to it. In fact, we just concluded a meeting about the publicity that'll be starting out. You'll see a lot more and more. Kind of the highlight of the whole situation, even though it's a Wednesday night performance, is on Tuesday he'll be doing a master class here on campus for the students. So we're working out the details. We'll be doing that in the next month or two, but he'll be here on Tuesday to do the master class. Finally, on the 29th, our board meeting is going to be very exciting. I would encourage you all to be there. I'm just going to tease you with the potential. I think it's going to be very beneficial for the college at that meeting. And I'd encourage you all to either get a copy of the agenda and the reports that are in it, which of course always go online, but I think it'll be an exciting day for the college. And with that, I'll conclude.
Jim, is the board meetings open to the public?
Yes, they are totally
You will not
open.
turn away anyone
No,
if they want to?
no, they're held right here. They're noticed throughout, and so it's a regular public meeting, et cetera. But it'll be, I think, a pretty exciting meeting.
Thank you.
Part of that has been because of Lisa and Anna working so hard on the PRU process, the Project Review Update process, where we'll be doing a review of the request from the college, and I think it's going to be very beneficial for the college overall. I guess I'll be back around 1:30 for the audit report. The auditor will be here. I think it came out pretty good, but we'll be looking forward to any questions you have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
COD Alumni Association. See Amber back there.
Good morning. COD Alumni Association has really gone into high gear. We are, next Saturday at the homecoming, we have our homecoming barbecue, and we have a scholarship recipient who has agreed to dress up as a Roadrunner. So the Roadrunner will be at the game as well. We are also participating in the 50th Annual Palm Desert Golf Cart Parade. Again, the Roadrunner will be there, as well as some alumni and staff and street fair merchants. Street fair was highlighted in the Desert Sun. Hope you all saw that. It was a great article that was written. We also sent out over 12,000 copies of the Alumni Connection. It's the first one this year, as we all know that we've gone through a little change, and so we finally got the first one out. November 1st, Hall of Fame. We are honoring 3 outstanding alumni, Teresa Ramon, Kate Spates, and Lupe Watson, as well as a distinguished faculty, Jack Tapleshay. Community Organization Award goes to College Access Foundation, and then the President's Medallion for the Street Fair Merchants Association, all that they have done for COD. Tickets are on sale. Just give us a call. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Academic Senate.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It was sad to hear the passing of our colleague and friend, Stan Dupre. He greatly loved and served this college. To say he will be missed doesn't begin to express what we feel. Our condolences go out to the Dupre family. Faculty are supportive of the college working with the Dupre family to determine the best way to honor Stan. We've suffered a loss. The Senate's been busy. The college has been busy. The program review updates are in. The college is getting it right. There are more PRUs turned in than ever before, and from more areas than ever before. The prioritization process is timelined and on track. It's working. Students are benefiting from this established process. We're seeing support for our programs in ways we haven't seen in the past. This was a college-wide effort, and all are to be commended. It starts with Dr. Kinnaman. I remember meeting with him a few years back at the Senate retreat. We shared how the PRUs were of no value because faculty would not submit the needs when nothing happened. That bothered him. He corrected it. Thank you. He promised that the funding would be provided, and the PRU requests would be vetted, prioritized, and respected. He has supported it 100%. The faculty and administration have worked at refining and improving the process, and it gets better each year. I thank the administration, faculty, staff, and this board for their support. I was so proud of our faculty yesterday. I'm proud to be a part of this outstanding faculty, this group of professionals. The nursing program was devastated in the recent SERP. 5 faculty members and a number of administration classified positions were lost. There was an effort to fill the gap with a full-time temporary faculty, which did not work out and left the faculty in the program scrambling to meet the needs of accreditation bodies and the students. It was brought to the attention of the Senate. We vetted the issue and requested a full-time tenure-track position to start spring 2015. Administration responded in support. Thank you. During the process, it was brought to the attention of the Senate that a second full-time tenure-track nursing faculty is required for accreditation and for student success. This was a bit awkward. I feared the second position would be contentious, might divide faculty, wouldn't be supported. It would bring up questions. Why a second? Why didn't this come out the first request? Our program needs faculty too. When are we going to get what we need? But I was wrong. Yes, these and other questions came up, but the vote of the Senate yesterday was unanimous. The Senate approved a second full-time tenure-track nursing faculty to start in spring 2015. I have sent the Senate's vote to the President and am requesting that he move forward with posting a second position. There are still issues faculty and administration must decide, and some rather quickly. We're in agreement on some issues, but not on others. I think the big issues would be hiring more full-time tenure-track faculty and the direction, the flavor of the college moving forward. A plan where decisions can be based and determined by. I want to say thank you to this board for the hard work that it puts in for this college. I know you deal with difficult issues and have our best interests in mind. Thank you for your support of the faculty at the College of the Desert.
Thank you. Faculty Association?
Didn't start the clock yet, right? Okay. Hi, everybody. It's been a tough week. First and foremost, in representing the full-time faculty, we express our heartfelt condolences to Stan Dupree's family. The outpouring of respect and admiration continues. The faculty has agreed with a suggestion from one of our faculty and previous board union president, Gary Bergstrom, for a loving suggestion to rename our Student Emergency Fund the Stan Dupree Student Emergency Fund. This is a fund that the faculty put their money into on behalf of students. The maximum a student can request is $250. We know that there will be many other loving gestures, and we look forward to supporting and participating in those. On a personal note, as my role as union president, I've had many conversations with Stan. Ironically, we spent the better part of this time last year
all about bargaining and what to do, how to do, how was it going to happen. One thing I will always cherish and remember is that no matter what was going on, and no matter how difficult it was, Stan always got back to me. Whether it was a little phone call or a little email, it was very respectful, and it was just getting back to you. He felt it was very important that human resources was in fact human resources, and for this I'm deeply grateful. This week, we also honored a former counseling colleague, Ken Lamont, with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge you've heard about. Kudos to all, Pam Hunter, Reve, for organizing, everybody who participated, and the president was a very good sport. Wait a minute, I was a good sport because the president was the one who dumped all that cold ice on me. And anyway, this is some of our activities at our best. The Faculty Association was one of many associations, including ASCOT, that hosted a successful Board of Trustees Candidates Forum. Thank you so much to all 3 candidates for coming. And one thing that was absolutely evident was a very clear message that the commitment and passion that candidates have for College of the Desert. We all walked away absolutely speechless with how much commitment and passion there is for our community. So thank you again. We welcome our new colleague, Frank Ramirez. We also welcome and honor longstanding faculty, and today I have the privilege of honoring some of those faculty members, and I will get to that in just one second. The current status of grievances: the association has filed another grievance, this time for stipends related to coaching. We had a level 2 grievance meeting with VP Davis regarding the nursing class size violation. This is what has also contributed to huge complications and stress in the nursing program. The informal complaint, of which the board has a copy by Dr. Anna Reber-France, has not been responded to by the district. The association and the district have not yet resolved the grievance on the new faculty orientation program. We are very concerned about developing issues related to the driving range, and we also hope that the issues with the public safety area will be resolved favorably so that that doesn't cause stress on that program. We bargained today and fully expect to have good results to honor our longstanding faculty as well as our current 100 faculty who are doing lots, whether it's intercession or student success or everything in between. Our next 5 longevity faculty are David George, Darlene Romano, Ty Thomas, and the one who could be with us today, our very own Jack Tapp. Come on down, Jack. Oh, this says since 1983, is it possible? For commitment to students, the college, and the community, for being a great colleague. Thank you so much, Jack R. Tapp.
Obviously, you don't have your glasses on because it
Thank
says
you.
since 1983.
That's what I said, isn't
Thank
it?
you so much.
Yeah, have you been here a long time? You have, and we thank you very much for your commitment. Thank you. And lastly, it didn't come, oh, you wanted to, okay. Our offices are just down the hall from each other. Thanks, Jack. And I just wanted to, it didn't come out very clearly, but I know many of the board members do come to campus for fun things like Dia de los Muertos.
Oh, good.
And Dia de los Muertos is on September 30th, so there are some fun events. Culinary, whom we honored last time, is doing the cookies de los Muertos. So we love it when we can connect with our colleagues on that. These don't come out very clearly, but I think you guys have seen. Whoops. There's only one.
I have one.
Okay.
anyway, do come have a cookie de los muertos and see what happens.
Thank you. College of the Desert Adjunct Association?
Good morning, everybody. I just have a few brief comments this morning, and first of all, to talk about more good news, I would like to thank and commend Dr. Kinnaman and this board for the wise decision to hire an additional 12 full-time temporary faculty to help relieve the backload of demand for critical courses. This will mean a great deal to our students, and it's a good decision, and I hope that that will solve some of the problems. And I look forward to the day I can come and report to you and say nobody tried to crash my course. I would also like to say that I hope this is an opportunity for adjunct faculty who are currently teaching here who might be interested in these positions so that they can apply and hopefully be selected and have the opportunity to teach full-time, even though it would be for a short period of time. We have many adjuncts who would appreciate that opportunity very much. I have something to add to my report that I didn't put in writing because I wasn't sure if she would mention it herself, but Denise Diamond is too modest to talk about it, so I would like to tell you about it. She came up with a wonderful idea, and she was able to obtain a used book rack from the library. She set it up in the communication building and sent out an email to everybody asking for them to bring books from home that they were willing to part with so that students could take them for free and have some reading material. And I thought, well, this is a wonderful idea. So the first day that I was in class on campus after this happened, I looked and the rack was empty. And I thought, oh, well, that's too bad. My next day on campus, I looked, the rack was empty again, and I thought, well, this program is a real failure. I mean, there are no books there. So the next day I brought in about a dozen books of my own and put them on the racks, and after one class period, they were all gone. So rather than being a failure, this program is a huge success, and books are disappearing off the shelves. And my experience was typical because a lot of other faculty sent emails around saying, yes, I brought in this many books, and they were all gone within an hour. So this, I think, is a great opportunity for our students to get reading material, hopefully on subject matters that maybe they wouldn't necessarily choose for themselves, but they see it there and you think, oh, well, here's a free book, I'm going to take it and read it. So I want to commend Denise Diamond for coming up with that idea. I know she's too modest to talk about it, and encourage other people, both on the faculty and anybody else, to bring books in. It's on the second floor in the communication building. And maybe, hopefully, we can persuade some of our students to do the same thing, or at least return the books after they've read them, so we can keep that in circulation. I'd also like to tell you about a general membership meeting that CODA is going to be having next Monday at 4, and invite any of you to attend if you'd be interested in coming by, just to see what goes on, or just to say hello. It's at 4 o'clock on Monday in room B2, and those details are in my minutes, in my notes to you, my report to you. The last thing I want to say is I made several comments in my written report. About Stan, and I'll ask you to read those. I can't talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. California School Employees Association, yes, thank you. The face changed, so I was
Good morning. My name is Kelly Blair, and I'm the first vice president of CSEA Chapter 407, and I'll be reading the report today. Information item number 1, Administrative Procedure 6150 appears before you as information. We are surprised that an increase in signing authority from $10,000 to $100,000 does not require the item going to the College Planning Council as information and to the Board of Trustees for approval. Student success. We are glad that the district has announced additional section offerings for students and that the district has been working with faculty to prioritize temporary and long-term hiring. Workload for faculty is limited by section capacity. This is not the case for classified staff. In general, the same number of classified staff members continue to serve an increasing number of students. A case in point is the staff in the financial aid and admissions and records. Financial aid staff continues to function with one senior financial aid specialist vacancy and for 3.5 months function without their lead. With winter intersession, the downtime will be severely decreased such that staff members all over campus are stressed to the breaking point to deliver services. Stan Dupree. The members of the Classified Bargaining Staff Unit and the Executive Board of CSEA Chapter 407 are deeply saddened at the passing of Stan Dupree. We send our deepest sympathies to his family. NAPS and negotiations. For many years, it has been the practice of CSEA and the district to periodically meet periodically and at times frequently for non-adversarial problem solving. This has allowed both parties to resolve issues and prevent others from escalating. Stan worked well with us, and we continue to dialogue to restore this level of relationship with the district. However, we are not seeing forward progress. We had a brief introductory meeting with Diane Worth and requested to restore standing meetings. Standing meetings with the executive vice president and with the superintendent president have been canceled. Joint district executive cabinet meetings with CSEA leadership have been promised since late spring. However, no attempt has been made to schedule even one. Our 2 negotiations meetings this fiscal year have not yielded any results, even for the classified job description that the district requested to be fast-tracked for the nursing department. It is frustrating that the negotiations team did not have the authority and that the decision-making administrator was not available the day of our last negotiations to address the issue of a salary rate. We appear to continue at a near standstill. While having an outside legal counsel as chief negotiator may have its benefits, it also results in minimal time windows for negotiation and additional expense. Health and welfare is by far the most pressing matter, as payroll deductions are scheduled to start before negotiations have completed, despite CSEA's repeated requests to negotiate this year. The district was not prepared to negotiate the issue at our first meeting. CSEA believes that we still show a healthy reserve and request to use it towards premiums. The second meeting offered a one-time payment towards health benefits of the funds we already believe we have, but only if CSEA agrees to delete contract language that allows CSEA to allocate district-allocated funds, as we have per that language in the last number of years. We look forward to the district team to receive guidance and authority to resolve pending issues so that we can move forward to addressing the challenges of the Student Success Initiative. And we'd like to thank the Alumni Association for the great classified breakfast they provided for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. O'Neill, would you begin our reports?
I will try, Madam Chair. I'd like to begin by offering my condolences to Stan's wife and family, his children. I'm going to try to say a few words. I don't know how far I'll get. I didn't know Stan when I worked here. I knew of Stan, and I'd met Stan when we initiated the presidential search process. For those of you who were here, there were initial meetings that we had with various interest groups to find out what we were looking for in a new president. And I met Stan at the one for the full-time and adjunct faculty. And we talked before the meeting began, and during the meeting I listened to the questions and ideas that Stan put forth, and afterwards I said to him, I hope you're interested in being on the selection committee and that you're going to put in your request to be considered. And he did, and he was, and chosen, and fortunately for us, because as many of you know, as we were going through the process, our HR director resigned, and it was determined that Stan had the qualifications to not only do the job of the HR position, but also, since he was immersed in our recruitment process, we could continue with our vital task of filling a presidency. And Stan jumped in and accepted the position. I said to him after a few days I saw him, I said, "But did you know what you were getting into?" And he, in Stan's deadpan way, said, "No, but I do now." And he jumped right in, and he took control, and he got us through the presidential search. And at the same time, a lot of other things started happening to College of the Desert. It was like every day something new exploded, and Stan was always there. And for those of us who worked closely with Stan during that time, you'd pick up the phone and you'd say, "This is going on," and Stan said, "I'm on top of it. I got it covered." And he did. And it was because of his efforts that we came out of a very, very difficult period, somewhat unscathed in a sense. And Stan worked 24/7. I'd frequently get emails from him at 9 o'clock at night and say, "Stan, go home." Or I'd get an email or a phone call on a weekend, and I'd say, "Stan, get out of your office." He put in mega hours, and at the same time he was still teaching, which was his love, and as was mentioned, Jack said, his interaction with students. And he just kept giving and giving and giving. I've read a lot of the emails that came out this week, and I've talked to some members of the community who knew Stan quite well too, and everybody is, of course, quite saddened by this. But everybody talks about the person that Stan was, the qualities that he projected. And we talked about honoring Stan. I think one of the best ways we could honor Stan would be to incorporate into our own behaviors his respect for others, his distaste for discrimination of any kind, his hatred of students suffering in any way. If you ever wanted to see Stan mad, do something that was disrespectful for a student or discriminatory against anyone, and you would see an angry Stan. And I would hope that we as a community, because we are a community, we're a family, I hope we can incorporate some of what we all seem to admire in Stan into our own daily activities and our interactions with each other. And I think that would be a great memorial for Stan. And I think I'll stop there on that part. I do want to comment, thank you, Denise, and thank you, Dr. Kinnaman, for your ALS. I couldn't be there. Unfortunately, I've had some medical issues, and I couldn't attend, but I know saw the report on the news, and it was good to see Ken's picture there, and thank you very much for that. It's been a difficult year, hasn't it? Some good news, Dr. Kinnaman and I met with Desert Hot Springs city manager, the city attorney, one of the city council members, and the city program development director. And we had a very, very excellent meeting looking how we can expand our presence into Desert Hot Springs. And we have some immediate avenues to pursue that can get us there very quickly in conjunction with what Douglas was talking about, our incorporating many classes to unclog the bottleneck. And we have a short-term plan, and we have some long-term plans that are in process that will really expand our presence in the West Valley and in Desert Hot Springs in particular. So we're very happy with that, and we'll be moving forward. And as that comes about, I'm sure we'll be updating everyone. I'd like to congratulate, sorry, I'm going to take a little longer today, if you don't mind. I'd like to congratulate Dean John Harmillo and his staff and everyone in the Applied Science and Business for the grant that they were awarded of $1.4 million. John, it was outstanding. I look forward for having reports. I know in our schedule of agenda items in services, grants is on it, and I hope we hear what you have planned and how it progresses, but congratulations on a job well done. For some of you may have already seen it, but there was in Thursday's Desert Sun, there were some pictures of the campus from the days gone by when it was a field. If you haven't seen it, I encourage you to take a look at those pictures. It gives you an idea of where we started. Some of them I had seen, some I had never seen before. There's going to be an article in Sunday's paper about the history of College of the Desert, and I was hoping that in some way, I don't know, copyright-wise, if we can abscond with this information and put it on our website somewhere so that we have a history that people can access. If you looked at the photos that were there on Thursday, I don't know if anybody knew how these buildings, the original buildings, were built, but they weren't built in a traditional manner. The covered walkways were built first, and the building was inserted into it. Because if you look at the arches on the building side, that wall was inserted in between the arches. It's quite an amazing process that was used. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. And the article also mentioned all of the famous architects who worked on it. And there were about 5 of them, and they were world-renowned architects. And every time something like this comes up, I thank God that this board fought not to let those buildings be torn down. And I appreciate, I know I was one of the big complainers all the time, but I appreciate everybody's support and that we saved those very, very important structures for the long term, and that they'll be here forever. And that's why I hope we can incorporate some of this information that's going to be in the Sun. I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice entirely, into our website somehow. Jim Hummer gave most of my presentation regarding the foundation. I asked that we have copies of the August financials, but I don't know if you got them or not. So Angela may have put them in our mailboxes, so I'll check with her. But everything else was covered by Jim, so I'll stop there. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Trustee Wilson? I would also like to offer my condolences to Stan's family. I did not know Stan as well as many of you did, and that is my regret. And he was one of the first people when I was appointed to the board. And went through the process. He was one of the first people that I met, and made me feel so welcome. And after I was appointed, he really walked me through the process and really held my hand. So many thanks to him for his friendship and his working with me. As a kind of he loved cookies. And I found this out when we had our board meetings and we were eating lunch, that he would be kind of absconding with the cookies from. And so after that, I just would purposely order a cookie and make sure that Stan would get it. So again, my sympathies go out to the family. On September 22nd, I attended the grand opening of Whole Foods in Palm Desert. They are a great new employer of the city of Palm Desert, and I'm sure we have a number of COD alumni and COD students working at that new place. On September 23rd, I was invited and attended Cal State San Bernardino's Welcome Back and Convocation with Dean Sharon Brown Welty. There was a barbecue. There was the first time that they've held a convocation, and it was a great opportunity for me to meet Cal State San Bernardino staff as well. I attended the COD Foundation meeting. Thank you so much, Donna Jean. And on September 25th, the Marks Gallery had their local art gallery exhibition, and Dr. Sosha did a great job in coordinating that event. Some really interesting art pieces done by our local artists, and I wanted to share with you. I did buy one piece in support of our local artists and in support of the gallery. This is the piece here. My daughter loves tie-dye, so I bought this for her apartment. And on October the 6th, it was an honor for me to serve as the MC for Palm Desert Councilmember Jean Benson's celebration of 30 years of public service. The event was held at the Desert Willow. There were almost 300 attendees for the event that was facilitated by the sister cities of Palm Desert and the Seroptimists of Palm Desert, including our college president, and Donna Jean was also there, so thank you so much. On October 9th, I attended the 14th annual classified staff breakfast here that was sponsored by the Alumni Association, and I served up French toast alongside President Kitteman and Lisa also, and other helpers. So it was a pleasure to meet many of the new staff and the staff that make COD shine, so thank you so much.
And on October 15th, I attended the Association of Funding Professionals, their National Philanthropy Day nominees reception in Palm Springs. I was on the Blue Ribbon Committee, the honoree selection committee, which selected the recipients. And one of the nominees was our very own Donna Jean Darby, who was nominated as Outstanding Fundraising Volunteer. So congratulations, Donna Jean. And of course, Jan Hawkins, I don't see Jan here, but she was with the foundation as the co-chair of the organizing committee for that event as well. And the awards luncheon will be on November 12th, so I hope everybody can come out. And also, John, congratulations on the grant. It's really critical that we look outside the box and continue to explore funding streams for the college, so thank you for your efforts. That concludes my report.
Thank you so much. Jane?
My deep condolences to Stan Dupree. Aurora, he also greeted me when I first came to the college, when I came back to the College of the Desert. As a former adjunct professor here at the College of the Desert, to be formally greeted and welcome to be back to the College of the Desert. Stan was one of the first people I met back for the college. It can go without saying his devotion to the students of the College of the Desert. If I take up a little more time, a student emailed me something to say, and she brought something for me. So if I may use my time to express one of our College of the Desert students' email that I received. Unfortunately, she was unable to be here. She's the captain of the soccer team of the College of the Desert, and they had to leave at 10:30 for their game out at Rio Hondo. Stan, and her name is Brianna Sarney. Stan Dupree is my college hero. Dupree was my first professor at the College of the Desert and my favorite one. No one has touched my heart as much as he has. He cared for his students more than he cared about himself, and he showed it every day. He always tells his students that he wants them to pass and to be educated. He was someone you could talk to about personal issues, schools, conflicts with relationship, or just a good ear to listen to. I was really nervous about college, and I was never good at history. Stan motivated me to try harder and that my hard work will soon pay off. And here I am, having a history of being terrible in history, and I passed his class with higher than 100%. Ever since then, I have tried harder in every class I found challenging. It isn't every day you get the luxury to have a professor to go out of his way for you. He's the reason I decided to join ASCOD and become vice president. He's the reason I auditioned for plays on campus. I was so nervous about auditioning, I didn't even think I would make it. My first audition, I didn't get cast in the play. It wasn't until my second semester that I began to get noticed for my acting. I just recently landed my lead role, and I won the DTL Award for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy for 2014. And I want to dedicate this award to him. I want to also dedicate my captain badge of the soccer team to him. I wouldn't have gained courage to go for my soccer dreams if it wasn't for him. He wasn't just a professor, he was my mentor. He would always give me the assuring smile and ask without wink on how his rock star was doing. And I told him I was continuing to make him proud. I'm going to graduate with my first associate arts and transfer to a four-year university. I will never give up, and it's the least I can do for a man who gave up his time to believe in me. Brianna Sarney.
Thank you.
And if I'm going to kind of switch this and kind of give a report of what happened for this month. So I just wanted to commend John for that awesome award with the Inland Empire and our whole consortium. I think it was great, the $1.4 million. On October 9th and 10th, I participated in a very informative energy summit for the Coachella Valley. We were on an energy bus tour, and I just want to let you know the College of the Desert was highlighted. I really want to thank Rive for hosting it, Aurora for planning it, and well, not plan it, but it was CVAG who hosted the bus tour. But we were highlighted as one of the smart, and our communication building was being highlighted. I thought that was awesome. I was also very proud to participate in the Real Academy exhibitors from our Desert Hot Springs High School. So they were there at the Energy Summit presenting. So COD, I'm very proud of that partnership with Palm Springs Unified, and they're offering, I believe, their first solar class. So my kudos to Larry McLaughlin, as always. On October 11th, I participated in 2 events, the Coachella Valley High School Career Day from the Women in Agriculture. It was awesome. And then most of all, our Veterans Expo that happened the same day. And I really want to give out to Donnie Prince for having that booth. We've been doing it for so many years. I've been participating in it long before I became a trustee for the College of the Desert. So it means a lot for our veterans. And it was an awesome event. October 13th, I was at Desert Hot Springs Middle School with our Culinary Academy and hopefully our soon-to-be student chefs that will come to the College of the Desert. On October 14th, I really, really want to thank our college Upward Bound teen, Monica Cabrera Socorro Garcia, our counselor, Dr. Basil Augustine, for making the Coachella to our Desert Hot Springs High School Career Day another successful event. The next day, on October 15th, I attended the Riverside County Board of Education Summit, and the keynote speaker was Alan November, and he was talking about something that the College of the Desert and what he sees in the future is how we could apply the apps in technology and for higher education in the K through 12. I thought it was a brilliant keynote talking about accessing technology, not for accessing technology for the sake, but using it as a tool for our students. I also attended later on our wonderful College of the Desert University Transfer Fair on our campus at the Hilb Center. Our staff at the College of the Desert came together to put on a great day. I saw our wonderful staff members escorting everyone on golf course. All the university reps were being escorted to their cars. And here are some words and opinions that many of the university reps stated as I got to know them. Sammy Acosta from La Sierra University stated, "I really enjoyed this year's event because you're the only fair that have golf carts taking us to our cars." And that was Sierra, and I'll be back again. Then we had Lewis from UCR stating he was impressed by how knowledgeable our students, and they knew about all the EOP programs and the TRIO programs and the financial aid, and they were very versed. And then, of course, my alma mater, UC Berkeley, go Bears. Erica Sanchez really enjoyed coming to our campus, and she said that she was so happy to meet our great counselors from the College of the Desert, and how Dr. Augustine and the counseling staff, it's nice to meet the face to the person that she always gets calls from the phone, and was impressed how College of the Desert is always advocating the students that go for UC Berkeley and our Summer Bridge program. And we're just happy that how UC Berkeley can always be a great partnership for the College of the Desert. At the same evening, later that day, I went out to support the Mecca Family Resource Center. It was a wonderful event, but we can't thank the team of the College of the Desert that was out there with Tula, TRIO, Annie Davis came out, Ann Davis came out, Jeff Larson came out. I mean, it was we cannot do these events without our staff. And most of all, I want to thank Alas con Futuro, our student reps that were there to speak with the families from the Mecca area. It is so important that we're out there and support that town. And I want to mention one more item. I'm sorry for taking up so much time, but the desert hot springs, the short-term solutions and the long-term solutions. We are very, very excited on what's going to happen in Desert Hot Springs, and we just want to really want to thank Joel for pushing our Desert Hot Springs and seeing that to light for our West Valley campus. Thank you very much for allowing me this time. This ends my report. Thank you.
Okay. I want to start off by giving my condolences to Stan Dupree's family. When I came back in from the closed session, the first thing I did was I glanced over there and I saw the candy jars. And, of course, Stan came to mind because I'll never forget when they moved into the building over here, his office had candy everywhere. And I first met Stan at one of the awards ceremonies that we have for students at the end of the year. And I didn't know who he was, but here was one of our faculty members telling me, that's my student, that's my student, that's my student. And then a few minutes later, all these students were around him. And I thought, wow, this guy is great. You know, what a wonderful, wonderful thing for COD to have somebody that the students love the professor afterward. And I found out they weren't just his students the last semester. Some of them were from 4 years before. And that's really impressive. For me, I really got to know Stan when I was on that presidential search for Dr. Kinnaman. Stan was always accessible. He saw the best in everyone. I never heard him say an unkind word about anybody. He was somebody that knew how to communicate. And, you know, I mean, a lot of people communicate, we listen, we try to understand everything, but for Stan, it was an art form that I really wish that there was some way that he could have taught us all how to communicate. All I can remember was always listen, and then listen again. But it's still, the way he communicated was so much better. You know, just the way he handled things. Students were always first with him, and humor. He always had a little bit of humor no matter how bad things were. For me, Stan will always be the most honorable humanitarian, and I will never forget him. This last month, I wasn't as active as I usually am. I don't know why, but some of the things that I did participate in were attending the Marx Gallery's exhibit, and the student work was incredible. I had to laugh because it was really outstanding, but I kind of laughed and I said, the only thing is, I don't think I better bring my students to this one. You know, I teach at a continuation high school. They probably would have loved it, but I don't know if my principal would have understood. But it was really great. It was fun. It was exciting. They had a DJ there, and it was just all in keeping with everything. I had several meetings with individuals in the community, and I also did some phone banking for some of the issues and some of the candidates. I don't know if some of you are aware, but in my local, my site has me being the building rep again for CTA. And so I got trained again at a CTA conference, a one-day conference for CTA, so I'll be a better building rep. And this last week we had the College and Vocational Tech fair over in Indio, and unfortunately I came home from one meeting and I fell asleep, and when I woke up it was already over. But my students attended, and they also set up at it, and they came back and gave me the most wonderful reports about College of the Deserts, what all the different things that they had there, and they grabbed materials and they found things out. And so now we're going to go forward and get some of COD's people to come out to the school because the students are really intrigued about it. So I was glad that we were there and that we made such a strong impression on the community. And I'll let you go ahead.
I'm not going to talk about Stan very much because I will cry. I think that he set a great example for us to always remember that students are first. His students, no matter when they were his students, he'd still say, he's mine, or she's mine, or... I thank the faculty. I thank all of those that participated in that email thread that we had this week of memories and what it was about Stan that impressed them and the things that we could learn from him. That was a very healthy thing, at least for me. It helped me grieve. It helped me see Stan in a light that we could make it into a positive thing instead of just a sad thing. So I thank you for all of those of you that participated in that. And he will be missed. The last meeting that he attended, he was sitting over there texting me to keep me in line and following the law correctly. So in my heart, it's still there. I'll continue to do my best. So my heart goes out to his family, my heart goes out to his friends, and my heart goes out to the college, his extended family. He will be missed. Now, if I can pull myself back together. I think the big event for this month at my end of the valley was that college vote tech night. And I think I'll concentrate on that since we've pretty well covered the other events. Except to say thank you, Mary Jane, for attending the CWA event. I appreciate that very much. Although agriculture is not considered a profession in this valley, it does supply over 50% of the economy. So, we're there. And if you eat and wear clothes, you're involved in agriculture. Oh, I think I've said that before. Back to the College Folk Tech Night. Thank you all so much for doing that great job. We had wonderful representation. Leslie's gone, so I can't look at... Yes, she is. Thank you, Leslie, for your encouragement. Thank you, John, for your encouragement. Faculty would not have been there if they didn't feel that they were supported. I thank you for that. I'm sure that Jim was over there pushing people, saying, those are really good folks down there in East Valley, and we really need to go tell them that the College of the Desert is here, and we are, for many people, the choice, the best choice. We're the choice that opens the doors and heads them for their future. So, Deans, I'm looking out at you and saying thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you, Joel, for supporting that event. My complaint about that event was we didn't get the word early enough. So, let it be known that on October the 14th, next year, is when that event's going to be. But I will try to continue to put out reminders. We had a great representation from counseling. We had a great representation from financial aid. Our alumni was there. And the alumni helped sponsor that event. There's a lot of volunteer work that goes into that event, but there are costs. And I do appreciate the alumni for stepping up and helping defray some of those costs. So thank you all for showing up. Everyone there had a full day. Some of you had 2 full days before you got there. You'd been to Mecca, you'd been to this event here, and they were going to the golf cart, on the golf carts, to their cars, so they could drive over to Indio and talk to another set of students. So that's a huge thing. Yes. But for many of those students, that's the only time they get to see a representative.
Yes.
It is such a big impact on our community that the Palo Verde School District brought 2 busloads of students down, and West Shores brought 2 busloads of students to it. So it helps you to put things in perspective and how important that one night for us is like, oh, I've already worked 2 days, but I'll go do this. To them, it's really a life-changing event. So I thank you for that. The other thing I wish to speak to is how much excitement I've gotten from the community about the idea of how to help get rid of that bottleneck that we've talked about of students that need just one course or need just a handful of courses to graduate. Representing the community, that is the biggest complaint that I hear. I hear kudos about our faculty. I hear wonderful things about our campuses. I get much appreciation for that interaction with the Sunline or having classes that are off this main campus. The complaint is my child, my grandchild, my nephew, whatever, okay, can't get through COD, okay? Sometimes someone will come and tell me, couldn't get through, so they just went to a different, they just went online and paid more and did it. To which I say, thank you so much for doing that, because that opened a space for some student that didn't have that option. As a community member, I really appreciate it. But it is so good that we thought of a way that did not impact our quality of teaching. It didn't impact the way that the culture of the campus. That these students will have an opportunity to actually take the classes and move on to their future. I'm thinking it will give some of our adjuncts an opportunity to teach a different sort of load. I'm also thinking it's going to open the doors and even make us have a richer pool of adjuncts. So it's good all around. I think we'll all win, but most important, the students will win. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all the people that got together and made that work. Joel?
I'm going to start someplace else.
Yeah.
And I'm going to start with really a theme that is related to where I'm going to end my remarks, and that's students and student success. And, there's been a lot of things that have been, that people throughout the institution have been doing to try to garner resources and have conversations about, what does that mean here at College of the Desert? We've always, been engaged in students and trying to do things to make sure they're successful. But one example is what you just referred to with the bottlenecks. As we're having those conversations, there's some really real legitimate things that fall out that have probably been around for a long time, but we haven't figured out, how to push them and how to maybe put resources towards them and those types of things. I think about the EDGE program that we've had in the summers and what a significant impact that's had on students, so that they're able to, really leap forward and not have as many courses for remediation. And, as we expand into the winter session and weekend offerings and Indio, there's a lot of things, a lot of players, the deans, and I want to acknowledge Anna with her leadership on those types of initiatives, because, that changes the institution. It causes some friction and some challenges, but it's exciting too, because it's it's impacting the students directly. And so I'm really looking forward to getting the faculty prioritization list from our academic senate. We need to aggressively hire additional faculty to address the needs of our students. And we also need to continue what we're attempting to do, taking our one-time funds that we have and putting them into play for generating ongoing revenues. Because through those ongoing revenues, we're going to be able to continue to hire additional faculty and staff and sustain and retain faculty and staff that we currently have. And so, again, Lisa, I appreciate all your work that you're doing with that. And Diane, I'll say the same about you, because you've been critical for us here as we've been going through some transitions. Trustee O'Neill mentioned it's been a difficult few months, and it really has. Even if we look back in the spring, from the spring, we've lost at least 4 students that we're aware of. Just by surprise, accidents and other ways. You know, Friday I got a call from someone, one of my closest friends and mentors passed, and the former Chancellor David Murtis. And you know, it was, you know, been working with the family on trying to deal with that, with his service and address that. And then over the weekend, you know, a call from Rhonda. I have like 2 pages of remarks about Stan that I think will save most of these for the service. But this is why I don't like to air board meetings. I will say, Stan, I understand why people feel cheated right now, some of you. I've been fortunate enough to be able to spend time with him. Maybe that says all of it right there. But Stan wasn't just a HR director. He was... I don't think I can do it. This will be the trial run before next week, I guess. The reality is Stan did care about our students, and he placed everybody else before himself. And we've all read the emails that I'm going to try to read next week. But I want you to know I understand if you feel cheated. Stan talked about every one of you. He talked about the executive team and how much he appreciated them. He talked about these trustees. And he talked about all of our faculty and staff, his students, and in the hospital. His students were there waiting on him, taking care of him. He knew them all by name. And when I'd go in, he'd say, Ron, I want you to get a hold of that student, whatever their name was, that's on the, I think they're on the 2nd floor now, because I want them to meet Joel. And so they'd come up and I'd have an opportunity to meet them. So all the way through that, COD was all he was talking about. And he was apologizing because he wasn't there to teach the classes that Jim had set aside for him. He wasn't here to, to sit down at the table for negotiations. And I would always have to say, would you just stop it? Mm-hmm. You know, just stop it. And he's getting payback right now because he and I have cried together, and he was on, I think, at least 3 times. The first time he didn't like it, and the second time he was frustrated because he said, now you've seen me cry twice. So right now he's probably saying, he's getting me back, I'm sure. But there is one thing I did want to read, and this goes to Stan. And like I said, when he wasn't just an HR director, he wasn't just a person involved in that. He was really involved in the lifeblood of this college and what really we're here for, and it's our students. And I'm going to read what I can of this, and it's from a student that Stan was struggling with trying to help, and he brought it to me, and we got a really nice note back from her, and this was over probably a period of 18 months with the student. And the student wrote, I want you to know the extent to which your character and integrity and tenacity have changed my life. You and Stan, on behalf of the college, stood for me when I could not stand for myself. And in so doing, you gave me the permission I have needed for so long to stand up for myself by letting me know I was important to you and the college. I was able to become important to myself. It took the kindness of strangers to teach me how to care for myself. I also want to tell you how lucky I feel that I was put into the immensely capable and even kinder hands of Stan Dupre. I would willingly, gratefully trade all the tears and heartache for the chance to know him. So that'll conclude my report. Thank you.
But with Stan, he was a stranger to no one. He was immediate family or friend. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be considered for approval by a single vote without discussion. Any board member may request that an item be pulled from this consent agenda to be discussed and considered separately in the action agenda. Please remember that we added, okay, this is where here we go. I actually found it myself this time. Isn't that amazing? Please remember that we added an item to, a position to the Human Resources Item 2 on the consent, number 4, and there are copies at the back of the room. So do I have a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented?
So move.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? I hear that as a unanimous vote. It is 12 o'clock. I am going to suggest that our agenda at this time is that we adjourn to closed session. Recess to closed session. See, what am I going to do this afternoon without you?
Can I do something first?
Sure.
I forgot to say, we all know Stan liked junk food and donuts and candy and stuff. So there's candy from Stan on the counter. So please, whenever Madam Chair recesses us, please help yourself to some candy, okay? Sorry about that.
That's great. Thank you so much. So we are recessing to closed session, and we will be back at, I'm looking at my 1:30? Okay. Thank you. Best to call this meeting back to order. It's always difficult after lunch. I do have an action to read from closed session. We did take action in closed session. A motion was made by Trustee O'Neill and seconded by Trustee Wilson to authorize President Kinnaman to enter into an employment agreement extending the contract of Mr. Jim Hummer, sorry Jim, can't read either, as Executive Director, College of the Desert Foundation, effective October 17th, 2014, and runs through June the 30th, 2017. The motion carried with 4 members voting in favor, no members voting opposed, and 1 member voting to abstain, and Trustee Sanchez voting to abstain. So the motion carried 4-0 with that 1 abstention. Now, if I could ask for the indulgence of my board, I would like to request that we move slightly from the order presented on the agenda, and that we let the foundation audit come before we go back to the rest of the business. Do I have a consensus? Yes. Thank you. Jim, would you like to do the introductions?
Thank you very much. Mr. Wayne Carlson from Brabo and Carlson is here. He did conduct the audit. I believe you received copies of the audit. The audit committee of the foundation did review and approve the recommendations, and also the full board. So as required, it comes to you in the next review process, and Mr. Carlson is here and can give you a quick summary of the audit.
Good afternoon. As Jim just said, my name is Wayne Carlson. I'm a partner in the firm Brabo and Carlson in Palm Springs. We've done your audit for a few years now, and it's getting better every year. Happy to report that the audit did go very smooth this year, and we issued an unqualified opinion, as you would want. Just as a recap, the foundation did very well this last year. You have total assets of $30.24 million versus $25.4 million the year before. Net assets of almost $30 million. This is as of June 30th, 2014, by the way. versus 24.4 million the year before. You had total revenues for the year ended June 30, 2014 of 8.1 million versus about 4 million the year before, for a net income of 5.6 million versus a 1.5 million the year before. The revenues primarily were increased by two things. One was your 30-30 campaign, in which you raised about $3 million. And then the investments did very well, at least as of June 30th. We don't know what they are
Yes, well, we don't
day to
know.
day, but other than that, we didn't have a lot of recommendations other than we just expand a little bit from the year before and mention again, which they are working very hard on and squeezing down so many temporarily restricted funds in order to track those better. You had like 250, I think.
We started 380.
380. So that was one of the recommendations we just wanted to consider that they keep working on, which they are. And then again, just documenting when you get donations from people that they understand, in fact, what they're going for. So, is there any other specific questions anybody has for me? Okay.
You're talking about the investments for the college of that, what?
Foundation,
of
yes.
the foundation. Could you just expand a little bit on that?
As
Just
far as
about
the earnings?
The earnings again.
Well, of the for the year, $2.9 million of earnings, approximately 1.9 million were unrealized gains. So obviously that number changes all the time. I know that Jim, maybe you want to expand, you have a finance committee.
We just had a finance meeting yesterday, and one of the issues was that clearly the market's taken a little dip in the last 60, 90 days. Of course, it went up to 65 today, so there's a bit of a recovery. I mean, there's a variety of reasons as to why that is, anywhere from international to domestic issues to the Fed, et cetera, and the nervousness in there. The one important thing I think that everybody has to take into account is that we had a very good year last year. Everybody was very happy. When you have these dips, you have to remind yourself you're into a long-term investment. And so you've got to be happy in the up times, and on the down times, you grit up. We did meet with both of our financial advisors yesterday. They review it on a monthly basis with the staff, on a quarterly basis with our finance committee. And if there's any restructuring in the different accounts, they're done based upon the information they have. And they have a series of variety of models that they use to protect our investments. The thing that we do, for example, with the 30-30 campaign and other temporarily restricted funds, is when it's received at the foundation, we transfer those clearly to our investment advisors. They get it invested so that, in fact, we keep the money working. And then we've worked with Lisa Howell over here to where, as requests come from the college for college needs, that we will be billed on a quarterly basis where we transfer those funds to the college to meet the priorities, which is all going back again to the PRU process, which is really critical for us so that we know what the priorities are and we can meet them as the requests come in.
I have a question about the temporary restricted funds. When I was director of DSPS, we had an account for interpreters. Now, if as a staff member, if someone made a donation to a particular account, we had access to that money.
Correct.
With this restructuring of these temporary accounts, what are you doing to maintain the integrity of the account?
Okay, well, the first of all is in terms of when we're consolidating accounts, the first things we're doing are the ones that have been zero balanced out. You know, that in fact the funds have been used, there's nothing in an account, there's no reason to keep trailing the account. There were some accounts that were upside down. And in fact, the college had drawn more money than was in the balance than it was paid. So we're trying to see how can we make similar, like if you had a DSPS account for the needs of DSPS, it would be one account. Funds that go into that. The other part is in temporary restricted funds, you have to honor the donor's wishes. Mm-hmm. So if the donor is very specific about what the account use is for, we have to track that and make sure it's used for those particular services. When you get to having 380 some accounts, a lot of them not being used or upside down or zeroed out, it becomes a drain on manpower. So what we're trying to do is get very clear, and in fact we have a new chart of net assets that in fact Lisa and Anna are both reviewing, as to number one, what the account's for, what dean and department's responsible for each, what was the initial purpose of the funds being set up, and what are the restrictions, so that whenever a request comes in, we have a very clear picture of how that money's used. Now, our next goal, moving along, is to, again, in concert with the college, is to make sure we have accounts established for particular program needs based upon priorities. And then we'll fund those accounts, and then will be accessed. We want to make sure those requests come through the college, so it's checked off. So if there's college money, they can take care of it. And if not, then it comes to us, and we are able to fund the need. So there's kind of number one, a set up the system, and number two, implement it.
Thank you.
All of it in alignment with the goals and objectives, so, the mission statement. So we want to make sure part of when the goldenrod process is coming through, there's actually going to be an item on the goldenrod that addresses which objective that it meets for current college goals. So.
Thank you both.
Just one last thing, because speaking of DSPS, it was about a year and a half ago, we had a donor that came through and took a tour of the DSPS area. They thought, that in fact they could help as it relates to the need for computers in there. They funded a $30,000 donation to help upgrade all the computers for the DSPS. So a lot of times these are donor-driven donations. Once they get on campus, they see something, they go, I want to help.
Yeah. No, I was just curious how the staff would be either positively or negatively impacted by this change. As long as there's a way of keeping track of where that money is supposed to go, I'm happy.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
all.
Well, I think the first year we came in, we noticed that there was so many funds, and a lot of them had very, very small balances on, and they probably were from, 20 years ago, and nobody was even really knew what they were for anymore. And so they went through and really specifically, and some of them were probably for the same thing.
Yeah.
So that's what that was. It wasn't like some money just got thrown by the wayside and didn't get put in the right pot.
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea to clean up so that we don't have all that.
And we
going
want
on.
to continue to keep the communication open with the faculty, staff, and the administration as to what are the needs that are coming up and bubble up, so that in fact we can respond as proactively as we can to
Right.
get the needs fulfilled.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So going back to our agenda as we originally approved it, and Carlos is out there going to watch this and go, oh, she didn't add that, okay. The action agenda, we have no items pulled from the consent agenda, so we move to the renewal term for the Senior Citizens Organization, College Support Organization, Taxpayers Association, and business representatives and appointments for the student representative on the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. Do I have a motion to approve the renewal of these terms?
So move.
Second.
Okay, I have motions and a second. Is there, do we have any additional discussion or presentation or comments we need here? Okay. Any questions?
I just want to thank these individuals for continuing their service to the Bond Oversight Committee. While they don't meet often, they are on top of things, and they stay on top of what's happening, and they are excellent, outstanding community people who devote a lot of time to our Bond Committee, and we need to appreciate them.
Yes.
Madam Chair, I would second that as a representative from the board that attends those meetings.
Yes, it's a lot of work, but
Yes, it is.
they do a good job. And I'm always saying that time, the college appreciates that donation of time,
Exactly.
as they also appreciate a donation of money or of something of an item that we need. So we value all of those contributions. Any other comments? Then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? I hear that as unanimous vote. Master agreement by and between College of the Desert Foundation and the Desert Community College. Do I have a motion to approve the master agreement by and between the College of the Desert Foundation and the Desert Community College District?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion?
I would like to also point out there are bylaws that the foundation have So this is an MOU between the college district and the foundation. And within those bylaws, they outline the different committee structures and other more micro type elements of how the foundation operates. In those bylaws, it specifies that there's an executive committee, and I sit on the executive committee, and I think Vice President House sits on the executive committee. I don't know whether, I don't believe do you sit on that? I didn't think so. And then also it designates, sorry about that, Anna. I'm doing this from my foggy memory. And then also the board's representative, the Board of Trustees representative, is also part of that executive committee.
And in the past, that board representative has been the outgoing president, the person that just served as chair of this board. But that chair does have the opportunity to designate a different trustee if for some reason they can't attend those meetings. If they have work or some other obligation, then that's a perfectly acceptable approach. What we like is for us to be there. I hope that we can give some significant input as to our direction, the direction that we see the college moving, and it's also a chance for us to say, again, thank you to the donors, because they are such an important part of our college.
This is my first term on as the representative of the board. I found it to be extremely interesting. I learned a lot more about the day-to-day operation of the foundation, and I was able to represent to the foundation the concerns and interests of the board. While we are on the agenda to give a report, the president usually beats me to all my topics because he's on ahead of me, but it's a good way for us to exchange a lot of information back and forth between us. So it's a good idea, and I think it's great to rotate it.
And it just gives us a chance to work together as a team.
And to meet different people that we all don't have a chance to meet sometimes.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Madam Chair, I'd have to agree with all those comments, and I've attended some of the foundation meetings as well, and Michael does an excellent job in giving a report to the board, and I think it's very important to have our elected official present at the foundation meetings there, to have the presence. You know, it's great to have the college president there, but it's also important to have your elected official.
Okay. There being no other discussion, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? I hear that as a unanimous vote. Human Resources, delayed paperwork over 60 days. Do I have a motion to approve this paperwork over 60 days?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do I have any discussion? We don't even want to hear the story.
Yes, I like to hear the story. I didn't want to ask. I'm usually the bad guy here.
Do you have that responsibility today?
I was given the responsibility moments ago. My understanding is this employee was on a temporary employment contract, and it was for a specific term, and that term then was increased, but the paperwork was not put through. So this actually is from the spring of last year. Invoice came in over the summer, and has been floating around because the agreement was not there. Staff, as we know, the HR staff has been limited at this point, and so they looked for it, weren't able to find it, so it's being presented to you this afternoon. Our apologies.
Thank you.
Yes, they have had their challenges. Any questions or discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I hear that as a unanimous vote. Okay, we've done all of it. Ah, yes. This very unusual item that we don't see very often. Certification of signatures. Do I have a motion to... Oh, I missed one? What did I miss?
The foundation audit.
We did that.
No, we didn't.
Oh, we didn't vote to approve
We
it. You're
didn't.
right, thank you. We just received the audit. Yeah, see?
Carlos is spinning right now.
Carlos is big. God, Carlos, I am so sorry. All in favor of approving the
No,
audit
we need
to...
a motion.
Oh, do I have a motion? I didn't have a motion?
No.
Let's have a motion.
I so move.
I'm surprised. I have a motion and a second. And comments? Did we comment enough on this?
I do want to comment. In the last few years, we received this at the same time we received all the other audits. And it's nice getting this at a different time.
Yes, it is.
You're able to spend more time analyzing and looking over than we could have in the past. So I appreciate this quicker timeline for the foundation audit. And I'm sure we'll have our other audits in December, correct? And it's nice having this one at a different time, so thank you.
It's also been interesting over time to see this audit, shall I say, improve.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean,
That's true.
To have an auditor come in and find things that should be changed is one thing. To have an auditor come in the next year and say, oh, good, we got these fixed, now we really ought to move this one a little differently. Okay, that's also good, you fix those but now they've worked themselves to a point where they have a nice, clean audit. That's really, I have to applaud them. They made a number of changes. They changed the actual structure of the way they do some bookkeeping.
That's right.
It was huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm really proud. It was huge. Now may I call for a vote? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we got a unanimous vote. Jeez. And I get to come to my favorite part. Certification of signatures. Do I have a motion to approve the certification of signatures?
So move.
Second.
That'd be really bad if this died for lack of a second. We have any discussion? No one will, okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Unanimous vote. 2013-2014 CCFS 311 Annual Financial and Budget Report. Do I have a motion that we approve this report?
So move.
Second.
A motion and a second. It was put on here for you, Michael, so.
I'm confused. Didn't we do this last month?
Well, I said that very same thing. Yes, we did. We adopted our budget last month, so there's different processes that are required. So you must adopt your budget before September 15th or within that week. I think ours was on the 17th. That information then is sent to the chancellor's office, and you are then able to operate. So that has budget information and our unaudited actual information, but it's in a different format. And so this format is a much more detailed format. It is required to be certified. In order to be certified, it has to be, it's delineated into a top code categories, and then it also, our auditors take a look at it and actually give it the A-OK before it's sent to the chancellor's office. There's a bunch of criteria that the chancellor office also goes through, and then it is certifiable. So we are certified, our report was submitted on time, and it's presented to you for consideration for approval this afternoon.
The in red in parentheses numbers. Try as I might, I couldn't figure out why they were in red and why they were in parentheses.
And
So,
give me
I'll
a-
pick a
oh,
page. Page 33, there's some.
No, pick a page.
It's, okay, exactly. Well, I can see on page 9 as well.
Yeah.
In parentheses and in red means it's a deficit or a credit amount.
That's where I got confused. It was an either or.
Just bringing to your attention. I believe that actually is part of the report and is not, we're not able to control
really?
that print, yes.
Okay.
So this is a format that is generated by a software program, so.
Because I've never remembered that in the past, and could be the way we had the copies.
Could have been, could have been.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other questions?
I
See,
will
Lisa,
state,
it was
by the
worth
way,
it.
that the information that was presented to you last month and this report are the same.
Are the same, yes. So, any other questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Hearing none? It's unanimous vote.
Home from work, I'm sorry. My alarm.
I had an alarm all last year that said it was time to stop doing our math and to start writing, so I understand those alarms. Okay, yes. The next item is an information item. There's no action required. Actually, there's not even any action we can do. Revised Administrative Procedure 6100, dealt with a delegation of authority, and 6150, designation of authorized signatures. Okay. So I'm looking up and down. Did I actually cover everything and we can go to our study session?
I am confused. If we are changing it's a procedure, not
Procedures.
a policy. Okay.
It's a procedure. That's
They're
what I
both
said.
procedures.
Here's our procedure.
And right, this is in compliance with state limitations, and also it provides an opportunity for if we were to have an emergency or something on campus and there was some people gone, hopefully one of the three of us would be here to be able to get whatever resources are needed and to address it. So.
And I think too, part of my goals this year were to go through and review our procedures. So I plan to bring to each and every board meeting 2, the number 2, as we update. A lot of these have not been updated, the procedures have not been updated, and to have agreements that are $10,000 or less, half every agreement go to Dr. Kenneman. First of all, we did a lot of research with other community colleges, and it's just an old process when we were much smaller. So now we're in a line with our size of college and obviously the increases that occur with contracts and things today. And I want to address too a comment earlier made by our CCA report. This is indeed going to the College Planning Council as an information item, but because we meet so infrequently, we wanted to bring it to the board first, again for information, but it will go before the College Planning Council for approval and recommendation. So.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that we are consistent with other community colleges. That's good.
And I'm glad we're doing about a shared governance, making sure that our College Planning Council has some input. Thank you.
So, we're ready for our study session, our facilities update.
Yeah.
All right, you want to go ahead?
Well, I was going to just start by introducing Dr. Annabelle Neary and Dr. Daniel Martinez, who are the front end of this combination presentation. The two of them deserve a lot of congratulations, and I personally want to thank them for the hard work they put into this presentation. They're going to start this afternoon by sharing with you kind of an overview of data related to our service area, and following their portion of the presentation, Lisa and I will come to the front podium and share with you how some of that data is driving some of the realities that we're facing and some of the recommendations that will be presented to you regarding facilities for the district.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board of Trustees, Dr. Kinnaman, Executive, and esteemed guests. Thank you for allowing us to present, and thank you, Executive.
My name is Dr. Daniel Martinez. I'm the Director of Institutional Research here at College of the Desert. It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you for having us. We wanted to talk today, or at least start the talk, with some information about the Coachella Valley and our service area. Today's presentation is going to cover, the overall presentation is going to cover, as you can see, student graduation rates from our high school districts, the student capture rate, which is the number of students or the percent of students from the different high schools who actually come to COD. We're going to look at educational attainment of the population in the valley, And we're also going to show you a map where students live in terms of those students who are actually enrolled in a class at Mechathermal. We'll also be, then later in the presentation, we'll talk about student access, including immediate needs and area needs, and then to facilities addressing access funds, timelines, and available funding. In terms of the data,
Can I ask a real quick question?
yes, please.
Would we get, is there any, I don't know if there's even a way to do this, maybe at a later time, students that are returning after, not current graduates, but returning students, they would not be in this picture, re-entering.
Re-entry.
Re-entry.
Re-entering, you know,
So-
coming for the first time, maybe when they're 30 or something like that.
So we do have the returning students and returning students after some years out. Now, they're not necessarily reflected in this presentation specifically, but there is an age population where you're going to see kind of the
Okay.
diversity, and then we can get to the returning student question at a
Okay,
different time.
okay.
And COD traditionally has a younger student population, but that's not to say we don't serve those
Yeah.
students.
Yeah. I just
And the
know that
idea-
there are a number that do.
I'm
You
sorry?
know, I just know there's a number of students that graduate and then they wait several years and then they
Yes.
come back too. So, okay, thank you.
So the data sources that we use for this presentation include EMSI, it's called Economic Modeling Specialists, that provides information about population, and about jobs and growth and like that. It works well for this region because the information is broken down by zip code. It's very, very helpful software. We also use information that we got from the California Department of Education for the high school enrollment and graduation information. The map we used with a software called Maptitude, which is, I think, very helpful in helping us to visualize where students are coming from. The slide on American Community Surveys, which I'll talk about in a little bit more detail, it comes from, that's an outgrowth of the U.S. Census. They do those surveys in between the 10-year census surveys. And finally, our own MIS, Management Information System files that we submit to the state on a semesterly and annual basis.
If I may interrupt, our California Department of Education reports those students that are going to the 3 school districts within our area.
Yes.
How do we get information on students how do we get information on those students that go to school but don't go to these 3 school districts, but go to school within our area?
So the executive actually asked us to look at that question specifically, and there was another study that Executive VP Anna Davies asked us to look at, which included all the high schools, including the Unified School Districts. So at a later time, that's something that can be shared as well.
I was amazed to discover how many so-called home students there are that are actually, well, I mean, Carly belongs to the San Diego Unified School, or whatever that school district is. I don't even know what that school district's called. And I'm sure when she graduates, they'll get the point, you know, but we're going to serve her because she lives here.
Yes.
Okay, so using MZ data, we looked at the population for the Coachella Valley for 2013 and a projection for 2023. We divided the valley up into 3 regions, the West Valley, Central Valley, and East Valley, and those are the cities that we included with each region. You can see that the population, the general population, is going to grow, as you can see, 10%, 12%, and in the East Valley as much as 17% between 2013 and 2023. The 15 to 19-year-old population, which is that traditional age, high school, graduate, maybe come to college, is also going to be growing, but at a smaller rate. This graph shows that information, but for all of the age groups, looking at the difference between 2013 and 2023, you can see that our over 50 population is going to grow by a tremendous amount, as we would expect. You can see in the East Valley that the growth of the less than 15-year-old students or people population is going to grow quite a bit, especially compared to the West and Central Valley.
I have a question on row tables that you have where you listed the different areas of the Coachella Valley, there's a lot more unincorporated areas than are listed here, like Bermuda Dunes, North Shore, Sky Valley. I don't see them included in.
I think they're included, I think they're including North Shore and Mecca because we share a zip code. And I think they're including,
Bermuda Dunes.
Thermal goes into Oasis because they share a zip code. I don't know who Bermuda Dunes gets rolled into, but I'm betting, I don't know.
You are correct. The information is actually gathered by zip code that we then lump them into cities and then into the valleys, or into the regions.
Right, so all of those, whether we live in a town or a township or not, we're listed by our zip code. So I think all students are counted, except strange situations like mine.
Okay.
You have to be unique, don't you?
I have to be, I just kid.
So I need to take responsibility because they had a slide here that had all the zip codes and it was a big, long, but it was very difficult to read, so I nixed it out this morning. So I'll take responsibility for that.
If you could email us that would be perfect, because we need to account for that. Thank you.
One of the, I'll talk about this just for a second. One of the issues when dealing with this data is how we break it down, whether it's by zip code, whether it's by county, whether it's by even school district, which we'll get to in a future slide. And they all have different ways of defining those regions. And even the definition of a city, whether it's a populated city or an unpopulated city, can be different. And so being that we wanted to tie this for future projects with job growth and highest paying occupations, things like that, AMSI uses zip code. It goes down to the zip code level, and so we wanted to make it consistent with that. And so there are some limitations when we start working with the information. Okay. Now, using information from the California Department of Education, this shows the total number of enrolled students in grade 12 for the 3 school districts in the Valley, Coachella, Desert Sands, and Palm Springs Unified, over the last 5 years. And as you can see, that there are more enrolled students in Desert Sands Unified than Palm Springs than Coachella Valley.
And why this is interesting compared to the slide before, and why Dr. Martinez would refer to the under 15 group, because over 10 years, when you're considering facilities growth, and we have a young median age here at the college, that's the students that are going to come to us, and that the fact that they're growing means that facility growth in facilities would support the educational pathway for those students.
It'd be interesting to know what the percentage of students whose parents get the, whatever the right name for the waiver is, to move students out of the Coachella Valley School District and into the Desert Sands School District, because that is done often. But I don't know percentage-wise how often it is. So, but there's still students in our valley, and there's still students in our district, so.
Right. This next slide shows the number of graduates from the 3 school districts over the last 4 years. The 5th year isn't yet available.
So it goes through 2012, 2015?
Yes, for the graduates, yes. We then combine the enrollment and graduation charts together so that you can kind of get an idea of what the graduation rate looks like. Now, this graduation rate is not the official graduation rate as reported in California Department of Education. This is just a ratio of 12th grade students with the graduates on this chart. And as you can see, for the whole Coachella Valley, it's in the low 80s, which is what we would expect. We do find some differences, though, when we break it down a little bit by school district. So this is for the whole valley.
Yes.
This is for Coachella Valley Unified School District, which is similar in that ratio to the whole valley. The next slide is for Desert Sands, which is a little bit higher. The ratio between 12th grade students and those who graduate. And then for Palm Springs, in 2009, 10 and 10, 11, it was a little bit lower, but then it's caught up a little bit in the last few years. And this is just a summary of the graduating class, the number of students who graduated from the 3 districts for the last 4 years. You can see that there's many more students who are graduating from Desert Sands and then followed by Palm Springs, and finally with Coachella Valley. Now the capture rate.
I have a question.
Yes.
In this graph, I see the seniors. Is there a way we could check our ELL learners as well from that data of your graduating seniors? I'd like to, that would be great to see if we could track that and see how
I can check. I'm not sure. It may be there in the data from CDE, but
yeah,
I can certainly check.
I know there is for K through 12. I'd like to see their graduation with the 3 different districts and how they do coming and
Sure.
graduating.
Yeah.
Just a comment on that. Recently, we had a joint meeting with the Riverside County Office of Education, and one of the interesting points that the superintendent shared was that they're finding that their highest achieving students are students who were designated as ELL, but then transitioned in their K through 12 experience, because they came in maybe monolingual, but they learned English and then they were deemed proficient. And that was an interesting point, I think, for us to hear, that we may not see that in the data, that at one point they were ELL, but they were then later recategorized as English language proficient. And their report was that they were very high achieving students.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, this is the capture rate for the whole Coachella Valley to COD. So this is the total graduation rate for the whole valley, and then how many of those students end up at COD. And as you can see, those numbers are what they are.
And what's interesting about those numbers, those are very low compared to other California community college districts. Some average as 50 to 60%, and some have a capture rate as high as 80%. And in some of those districts, they even have competing California community colleges.
But out of this group, do we know how many went on to any higher education? I mean, are we talking 24, 25% of graduates, or versus 24 to 25% of 30% who went on to higher education?
I'm working with the CVEP and the school districts that are involved with CVEP to try to get that very information, because it would be very helpful to know how many students go from the high schools go to any post-secondary, and then how many then come to us.
That's critical, I think.
Yeah. So we're working on that with CVEP.
Okay.
So this is Coachella. This is valley-wide, and then here's the capture rate by school district, and it's pretty consistent. And that's the average capture rate over the 4 years, as you can see in the graph. Now, using the American Community Survey, we look to see what the educational attainment was in the valley. This particular breakdown of information is separated by school district and not by zip code. The census data and the American Community Survey actually provides information at the school district level, which is very helpful. So using that data, we see that in the Coachella Valley area, there are more adults 25 years or older that have no high school, and then you can see how that shifts to high school or higher, or even a bachelor's degree or higher. And the last slide for my part of the presentation shows a map of the valley of students who are enrolled at Mechathermal and where they live. And you can see the concentration of students is in the eastern part of the southeast part of Coachella zip code, near the Indio campus.
And if you notice those little kind of red houses on the map, those are the locations of the sites.
Right. So you can see the Palm Springs High School, the Palm Desert campus. Indio is where all those dots are, and then the Mechathermal campus.
So we have students coming from Desert Hot Springs to Mecca Thermal.
That's correct.
Oh, yeah.
I find that interesting.
Palm Springs.
They
Where there's a-
bypass two
You go
places
through
on the
Dillon.
way.
You go through the back.
You go where there's, I think where there's a class open.
Yeah.
Which goes back to our bottleneck, which,
Which goes back to our bottleneck. The slide before this, it would be, when we're looking at high school education, and on the CV Unified, it's, much higher 1 year and pretty much level the other 2 years. You think that was just a blip in the way information was gathered?
This graph
Yeah.
or a
Yeah,
previous?
say the 39, 17, 17.
This is the percentage of adults 25 years or older and their highest level of education.
And
And
so
so-
one,
So what it's saying is that that adults in the Coachella Valley Unified School District region, not the school district, but in that region, that there are more adults that have a lower education compared to the other regions, the Desert Sands or the Palm Springs region.
yeah, I think of how to ask my question differently. Yes, I read that. I'm still wonder if it's the way the information is gathered. It's nothing you can do anything about. I'm just wondering if that the other two being 17%. I think the 39% is generous.
Okay.
Okay, I think it's generous. But the other two, I'm surprised that they're the same.
Yeah. Did you take in account Desert Hot Springs High School? I mean, because it's that 83, I think that's what you're seeing.
Yeah, I'm surprised, but
I'm not sure I understand the question.
You're saying high school graduate or higher, 25, it's just, they're the same. You're comparing Desert Sands Unified School District to Palm Springs Unified School District.
it's amazing. It's the data you were given. It's just,
Actually, this is census data.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is information that it's general census data, not high school data.
it's
But we're able to get that information using the school district as a region. Almost like if you think of it as a city, as a region,
right.
so we could kind of separate. That's what we were trying to do.
Self-reported. This is self-reported information.
the self-reported
This is-
census.
Yeah, that's what I mean, though. It's self-reported to the census. Okay, that explains a lot.
So don't relate it to the high school.
No, I'm not related
Okay.
to the high school. I'm just surprised comparing those areas. I wouldn't expect them, those districts, I wouldn't expect that information to be exactly the same. But if it's self-reported information, I think it's just pretty normal human behavior.
When they say no high school, they don't mean that they haven't gone to high school at all. They mean they didn't graduate
That's
from high
correct.
school, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right, that's correct.
Because there are some people that have not gone to high school, and there are some that just have not graduated.
See, I find the data interesting the other way. If you look at the bachelor's degree or higher, in the last, I would expect us to have more of those than 28% and 25%.
Yeah.
I find those to be too low
For Desert Sands Unified and Palm Springs, that's what you're saying.
considering the populations.
Yes, I just
And
think-
10%.
But it's self-reported information.
Right.
That explains a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions on the data?
Thank you.
Okay.
You want to get out of here fast, don't you, Dr. Nari?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So what does all this mean? That's the question that Lisa and I are going to talk to you a little bit about and be seeking your advice on and in some decisions that are going to be made in the near future regarding facilities. As I've learned more about our service area over the past 10 months, and this information has been helpful in helping me have a more robust understanding of our student and our community needs, the good news is that students are increasing at all of our locations. Our population is growing. Our capture rate reflects that there is a large community that we're currently not serving. So when you look at the numbers in your packet about 12th grade enrollments versus graduation rates, there's a delta there. Those are students that we are likely not serving. The students that do graduate, the difference between that number and the rate that we capture, there's a group of students that we're potentially not serving. And then when you look at our higher ed attainment rates and you see the number of adults in our community that lack a high school credential, you also see a population that we may not be serving as robustly as we could. So one of the things that I take away from this data is that there is increasing need in all of our areas in our valley. What they need from us is different, right? And looks different depending on the location. And so what we now are working towards is shaping those different needs and relating that then to facilities that will be expanded, built over the next 3 to 5 years. So the good news is we're growing, and we have the potential to grow even more given the adults that we're not serving. And that's, in my opinion, that's really wonderful news for us, and also will influence our construction recommendations.
Doesn't it also say, though, we may not be presenting the right product?
That's a
Maybe.
very good question, Trustee O'Neill. My initial, as I reflect on this, we are offering comprehensive and robust programs. We have a strong breadth in our curriculum. We have a nice balance of professional technical programs to general education. We are offering adult basic education, a GED program, as well as an adult high school completion program. But where we're offering those and to what degree we're offering them, where we're offering them, needs to be assessed, and we need to have those conversations with the data to help us guide our planning.
That was exactly my point. Thank you.
Yeah.
So we've all heard that students have trouble getting classes. So several weeks ago, maybe 5 weeks ago, I come to Cabinet and the President and Anna corner me to say, can we get this done by February? Facility-wise, facility needs. If we choose to, or if we move forward with this initiative, can we do it? So we started looking at our central campus, what we have available, and where the needs are, where we believe the needs are. And we came up with a plan, which we're recommending for you today, to relocate our HR and fiscal services from the South Annex here and move them to our west wing of our administration building, which I think way back when they might have been there to begin with.
A million years ago.
A
For those
million
of us
years
who've been
ago.
here that long. I'm older than you, Pam.
There you go.
Okay, you're older than me.
So when we're struggling with finite, and again, I'm always going to defer to the finance piece and the bond money and how much do we have left, and knowing that we want to dedicate the majority of the funds left towards student need. What can we do and how can we relocate staff into a space so that we can free up student space so that it is in alignment with where our other students are. So we came up with this plan, and actually this is this nice little scenario over here. It's very low cost. They're required no DSA approval. It really is utilizing our existing space that is right now, I call it the It might be called that. What is that show? The show where they have the storage.
Storage Wars.
The Storage Wars.
Murder without really.
Yeah. So if you've ever taken a walk through that area, there's a lot of equipment, debris that's been sitting. And there are usable office spaces. It's actually a very nice space. So with a little bit of paint, we call it putting lipstick on a pig. With a little bit of paint and a little bit of carpet, less than $300,000, we can get this done. And actually, there in this area here is a really cool space for our adjunct offices. It has a hoteling area for computers and would make their life a lot easier because the facility they have currently in the Hill is less than desirable. And we're going to be talking about the Hill shortly. So that's recommendation from the immediate need. Then we want to, go ahead.
Is the vault still usable?
The vault is still usable.
Is it something we could use for storage records?
Our
and stuff?
first thought was to turn it into a wine room, but.
A wine room? Okay, that works. I think
That would
that's
be
illegal, but it
wine
works.
with a WH.
Yeah, there you go. So yes, it is still
Added.
usable. It is still usable, and we plan to keep it intact. So, but really have it for a storage space if you look at the plan there.
And Lisa, you put a $300,000 tag on that?
Yes, you were gonna, there's a recap at the end on the very last page.
Where
that'll
the
give
funding
you-
would come from?
Correct.
Okay.
And then we want to talk about repurposing the swing, we call it swing space or the portables where HR and fiscal are now, and turning those into classrooms. So more of our intensive English and student need area. So that is a very low cost, refurbishing those portables back to student space.
And those classrooms would work to support not only the additional sections that you've all heard us talk about adding over the past 6 weeks, but I want to make a special point to identify that this is also expanded access for our international education program. A few months ago, you heard Christina Delgado come and talk to you about the impact of international education, and I count my blessings that, you know, given the bottlenecks that we talk about, the international ed program has actually provided additional sections for our own students over the past 10 years. And so an opportunity for them to grow also means growth in that program and growth that will translate into growth for our own students. So it really is a win-win in terms of access for students.
So any other questions before we leave recommendation number 1?
Everybody fits in here?
Believe it or not, we met with all the groups and received input. They actually got to design their own space. We had input from HR, from fiscal. We also have several offices included for growth. And so we believe that everyone will fit. And again, anytime we look at a facility plan, I kind of have it Lisa's rule. Lisa's rule is always that plan needs to survive at a minimum of 5 years. When you're going to spend any money toward a facility piece, you want to make sure that it's not an interim plan. It's a plan that's going to last you at least a period of 5 years.
And the timeline on this happening?
Before February 2015.
Is the president's office still located there?
President's office still remains, this area remains unchanged. The only change there is this nice little adjunct office. And across the way, I'll also indicate up here, is going to be the Student Innovation Center. That's just across the way in the liberal arts.
Faculty Innovation.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Faculty Innovation Center. That's the Berger funded. We've been looking for a location and have found the perfect one. So yes, so nothing changes here. It's just this area that's going to get the refurbishment. And I think there are 3 walls that need to be moved. But other than that, it's existing space.
That's great.
So, okay.
So continuing with the Palm Desert campus, there's a few realities that we're dealing with. These are realities that you may be very familiar with, and so I'll just briefly mention that we are still facing the need to vacate our joint use library space. There is the need for us to return to the Hill for library space, and so we're working with that premise. We also recognize that there is very limited large meeting room space on this Palm Desert campus. We are basically sitting in the one room that we have that can seat over potentially 25 to 30 people. And so this makes this space very high demand, and oftentimes we have competitions unfortunately, to vie for this space. So we need additional large meeting space. That there's just no question about that. And then finally, we, and you know all this all very well, that we are sitting in a multi-purpose room that wasn't intended to be a boardroom. And so we do continue to want to work towards our goal of having a formalized Board of Trustees space and dedicated meeting space.
So we're recommending, and again, the Hill plan, I think, was, it's been part of the central campus redevelopment for quite some time. I think we're reconvening that user group because I think the plans that were originally housed for the Hill have changed a bit. And I think there was a lot of money being spent for reinforceable that didn't need to be. So we're going to revisit, get that group back together or get a new group together. when our new library person comes on board, director of
Yes,
coming
and she
soon.
begins, I believe November 3rd is her start date.
So that group will convene. So that's a little bit longer term, but with the HILB, we also then are looking at our Building C, and that actually shows just the first kind of little glance. I think you've seen that rendering before, but that gives you an idea of what Building C could look like as a formal boardroom, which would be a nice space to have. And then with that, up here in the blue is the President's Suite. Here would be the closed session boardroom. There's a kitchen, there's restrooms. And what's nice here is this actually is access right out to the parking lot. So again, a rendering, just a rendering of ideas. Certainly we can revisit that. But this plan, a little bit longer term, DSA, user group, we're looking at 2 to 4 years for that completion.
And we are thinking of developing a space that others can use. It wouldn't just be for.
Correct.
Correct. It would basically, it would create another large
meeting
multipurpose
space,
room.
right.
Yes.
And the being close to the parking lot, although it would be very convenient for us.
Yes.
It also would be very nice if we were renting, and I don't necessarily mean for money, but if we
Right.
were
For
providing
community
a
use.
space for community use.
Mhm.
And
As
that
well as
area is
foundation.
very lovely. We have this lovely area this way, as well as some other space that could be used in for the same meeting, but for a meet and greet or for the whatever before. So that might be a very sellable space.
Correct.
And again, I don't
And
necessarily mean money.
What's beautiful there as well is right out in this space here is the beautiful courtyard area right in front of our brand-new beautiful gymnasium.
Yes.
So we could have events out there in the evenings. The foundation is salivating over this plan because they often come to us for space. Where can they have an event?
Right.
How many does that hold in that middle part?
I believe down to 100. We had it at 150, and we thought that was too. We were limited with space here to fit these spaces in, so I think we're right at about 100 seating.
And this room is how many?
I don't know.
About 134.
Well, there you go. Thank you.
134.
134.
So it's a third.
So
It would be advisable to make it bigger. I don't know if we could still, because we
can't do
do,
other
I
things
mean, I
there.
see that we have limited large conference space and we can use that as a revenue? Dare say?
We
To
did
rent
try.
out
They tried, I
We
think.
did try to get it larger, and the
Larger.
challenge was the structure,
Yeah.
the structural part of it
'Cause it's a
didn't allow
remodel.
for us to be able to make that middle space any bigger because of the pillars and where they're at, and so they tried to maximize the space.
But you can put seats under the side alcove.
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Yes.
So actually, what's shown, you could probably get another 50 or 100.
Could we
Correct.
seats in there maybe.
yeah, and that's why the draperies are there as opposed to a closed-in door, so they
And-
kept an open.
If it were an event other than a meeting where you're sitting like this, that's very workable.
Correct.
Probably that'd be very workable for a meeting like this too, because people could go out there that
Yes.
didn't really want to.
Right, and we also talked about putting monitors in those spaces when
Yes.
we originally
Right. True.
discussed this plan, so that would make it functional.
We also have the additional availability of the gym, and we've spoken to our athletic director about the flooring, because we're very concerned about the
Yes,
flooring.
steel flooring,
So the foundation has graciously agreed to provide a cover that will be custom made for our floor so that they can have events in there of limited size, and again, with just tables and chairs. No, I told them no fire trucks, no cars.
Yes.
But, so we also have that space. So if we ever had the need to have a large meeting, we
Nice.
have that space right next door,
Nice.
so.
I have two other questions. I'll try to be good.
Sure.
The current library building, we own that, correct? Or we own our half?
My understanding is we own the building.
That's, okay.
But there's an agreement that, I think they own the land and we own the building, is that correct? I'm looking at Joel.
Yes, you are. You know, I would have to go back and take a look at how that was structured. I know that there
We
was.
own the land.
I think we own the land.
Maybe we own the land and they own the building, maybe that's correct, yeah.
I think I just bring that up because I think we have all forgotten what that relationship is, and maybe it would be good for us to take a look at that, so we know what options we have for that space.
There's actually, I actually read the agreement over last evening about there was a plan to vacate it, but that has come and gone. So it talks about when the college moves forward with the plan, we have X amount of months to get out of that building. So it's pretty specific in the plan, but again, the agreement that I was reading, I think, was 8 to 10 years old.
Yeah, I think that the people that signed that are long gone.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Yes.
it's time for us to really take a look at that. It's been something I've been wanting to bring up for some time, so I appreciate that. The other thing is the foundation was originally moving into this building, and they are staying where they are at now.
Yes, they are staying. They are staying.
Okay,
They
thank
love
you.
their building.
Okay.
So that talks about recommendation number 2.
So we're going to move now to the East Valley and talk a little bit about the reality that you've seen today, which is that the largest growth that we will see in the next 10 years is in the East Valley. And not only is that the largest growth, but there is also the largest population of adults without a high school credential in the East Valley. And so we need to begin to think about serving not only our traditional age students, and Dr. Martinez mentioned to you that we have a young population, and that is my experience as well. We have a very young average age here. We have a young student population. And we now see the large need that we have to serve an adult population, but in a different way than those traditional age students, at least as a first introduction to college. So in other words, that first introduction could be through adult basic ed, it could be through ESL classes, rather than the traditional aged graduate coming and pursuing general education. We also know that our Indio Center has been very successful. We are currently in the final stretch of planning what we are going to be calling a weekend college, which will be offering Friday and Saturday classes in Indio beginning in the spring. That building will be at capacity a year from now, and we will be capped out at that facility, which means we are going to need to look at spillover and begin to plan for students that may want to be students at Indio and at a second location in order to make good progress towards their goals. I also mentioned a little bit earlier that we had a joint meeting with Riverside County Office of Ed recently, and Superintendent Young expressed to us with his executive team that they're very interested in dialoguing with us about a middle college high school. Middle college high schools are generally programs that allow high school students to be co-housed, if you will, at a college campus, and rather than their theme being a pathway in a career or a military theme, their theme is being a college student. Their theme is to be prepared for college. And we know with all of the factors that impact our students in the East Valley, having that as an option for families might be very attractive. And so they're really interested to talk to us about how that might fit at our Mechathermal campus specifically.
So to deal with that, we are recommending moving forward, I think we've mentioned this before, with Phase 2 of the Mechathermal campus, which effectively addresses these needs. What does that entail? That entails 4 additional classrooms. We anticipate that can take place, again, simultaneously, the same time we're doing the Hill and the Building C. So it would be a rather immediate move forward. We've got to work with DSA to do that, but this will Pardon?
Say, I'm imagining 4 walk-in closets there.
No, they're actually,
there's enough room for 4?
This is the group of 4. It's very similar size to here. This one is the lab, and then we have 3 additional classrooms there on those existing pads.
Yeah, I'm thinking that existing pad, and I'm thinking walking down that area, and I take your word for it, there's not much room. But and the classrooms will be equivalent size-wise? Okay.
Equivalent
cool.
size-wise, correct.
Cool.
So,
Cool.
I actually was out there yesterday, and I looked at the space, and again met with Misty Reynolds, and looked at our camera situation. So, beautiful campus out there.
You
Lisa,
met with Misty?
Have you spoken to anyone about the geothermal, we could maybe do some strategic partnerships, maybe for the mechathermal, have we looked into that, making it?
I have not.
We don't have any geothermal any
But
closer
maybe in the
than
future.
Imperial Valley,
I
but
know.
we're bound to be able to work out something in the future, but maybe
Yeah.
in the future. Right.
Yeah, and what this will do for programming in terms of access for students is that right now our Mecca campus is not fully utilized. And so we anticipate that building a strong program there will entice students at Indio who want to complement the units that they're taking there. And we're also exploring what that might mean in terms of transportation needs and how we might be able to facilitate transportation via a shuttle from our Indio site directly to Mecca a few times a day. So that will help fill out some of the classrooms there. A middle college high school would be a daytime program. Right now, that the daytime use of that facility is where it's the thinnest, and so having a middle college high school would create a lot of activity there during the day, which I think would be a very positive thing. And it would also build a cadre of students wanting to be full-time students at Mecca. Right, so what that middle college high school might do is, over the course of time, produce a graduating class from that high school who want to stay at Mecca as a full-time student. And so what we're trying to do is build multiple avenues to sustain the enrollments at that site and to build towards growth in the next 5 to 10 years.
So the middle college classes would be held in our in college classrooms?
That's correct.
That'd be a good environment.
That's correct.
And would we get any funding from the state for high school
Yeah,
students?
we in essence would be a charter school. We in essence would have a charter high school located on the Mechathermal campus.
Have you spoken to Coachella Valley Unified? Because aren't they doing something in agriculture, something that at the, I don't know if that's in the work.
They're
Right.
desperately trying, but that's a Coachella Valley High School thing. I think we make it work together once.
Remember that agricultural vision that they're trying
Right.
to?
I think once we get the middle college thought set up, then I think we can work for that. But if we
Absolutely.
become a charter school, we may not be best friends.
Correct. And actually, the county would carry the charter. They
Yes.
would
That's
be
what
the.
I'm
The
saying.
county
We
office.
may not be best friends.
Right.
But that doesn't mean we can't, within the community, still work together.
Correct.
Right. Yes. Yes.
For as long as all that.
And then the third leg of the planning for East Valley, of course, needs to include that adult population that is out there that has not necessarily attained a high school credential or has attained a high school credential but no post-secondary, and really looking at ABE programming, ESL programming, as well as some non-credit short-term vocational training, which may introduce them into pathways that would lead to enrollment in credit programming later. So,
I think this. Right.
non-credit
ABA?
non-credit programming is currently housed within the Languages and Communications School.
I know, but I meant vocational.
It would actually be offered probably through our sister credit program. So if it was a short-term vocational HVAC program, it would probably be housed and managed by our credit HVAC program, so that there would be a strong linkage between those programs, and they would matriculate. Basically, students would matriculate from non-credit into credit.
I think we need to be realistic about the adult population. And because one doesn't have a high school credential, doesn't mean that one went to the 9th grade and just didn't make it. Sometimes some of those adults didn't make it past the 3rd grade. But they have a life experience, which is very valuable. But actually offering a vocational experience and then tying our more traditional subjects into that vocational experience would make it worthwhile. When you're an adult and you're already making a living and you've got kids to feed and, So I think there's lots of possibilities there. I just think we have to be realistic about what kind of classes is going to be attractive.
Yes, and we also, as many of you know, Assembly Bill 86 is now in the planning phases, which is really going to redefine and reimagine adult education, and that planning will have a lot to do with this as well. So you're
Absolutely.
absolutely, there are a number
right.
of things that need to be reflected on and assessed and
Right,
and
which
helped.
doesn't mean in the long run you would not end up taking an individual to a point where they were getting whatever the GED or whatever it is that we're looking for, whatever high school completion, so they're ready for college. But a number of those parents, we're going to have to, well, they're hungry. You saw that Wednesday. They're hungry for more education.
Yeah.
And we're offering it to their children, and children always come first. But they'll be thrilled to have an opportunity to learn to do this skill so that it will enhance their job.
Yeah, and there are some creative things that we also can talk about. One program in our cadre of non-credit is vocational ESL, where you can actually blend ESL and
Yes,
vocational
that's
training. And so there are some things
without
that
the words, that's exactly what I mean.
yeah.
Okay.
I think this is very important. Having been an ESL teacher here at the college in the east side of the valley, Chairman Broughton, I think it's very critical that that this whole ESL hybrid with workplace. Other community colleges are doing that with Career Invoke with ESL. So I think that would be great, especially in the east side of the valley.
That's
I mean,
great.
it's a dream come true. I think it's just 20 years of teaching ESL for me. It's just, we need that here in the Coachella Valley. Thank you.
One other thing, what are we doing with dual enrollment with the high schools on the east end of the valley? Anything? Or concurrent enrollment?
Well, we have been engaged in concurrent enrollment for several years. Our district has worked with, I believe, all three of the districts to offer concurrent enrollment opportunities. As you know, dual enrollment is a more recent phenomenon, and last spring was our kind of our inaugural attempt at offering dual enrollment, which we were successful in doing with Palm Springs Unified. And we're moving now towards serving all three districts in a dual enrollment program. We have a high school coordinators program coordinator in place. Leaf Jordan, who is a math faculty, is heading up that effort for us. And we're in the planning phases. So right now we're trying to work with the high schools to determine their long-term needs as well as their immediate needs, and to begin to build a more regular and expected rotation of dual enrollment.
Okay. And how does the funding on that work?
Dual enrollment courses allow some flexibility. Currently, we are not collecting apportionment for those courses. We are electing to not do that because we are relying on the high school teachers who are already employed by the Unified. And so we are admitting those students, and we're transcripting those units, and a student gets every benefit of being a credit student, but we are not collecting apportionment on those classes right now.
Okay, any other questions on
Don't we have, I just want to know, I thought we have an MOU with Palm Springs Unified. We don't have an MOU with Coachella Valley. They didn't sign. I was informed. Have we signed those MOUs with the superintendent out in Coachella Valley Unified or Desert Sands Unified?
You know, I would have to follow up on that, Trustee Sanchez. I'm not confident I can give you the correct answer as I sit here, so I would need to do a little bit of follow-up.
Thank you.
Okay, so recapping, this is recommendation number 3. And now we're going to move on to West Valley.
Yeah, so the West Valley remains a little more ambiguous in terms of timelines and facility needs, although we do see that there is a growing need and our population in the West Valley will also continue to grow. We do have a higher educational attainment rate in the West Valley. That tells us a little bit about what to expect, but we know that in Desert Hot Springs we have a large need and we're looking forward to a campus in the Palm Springs area. So in terms of recommendations for the West Valley, we really are looking a little bit more at next steps.
So, and I think to mention we're currently working toward exploring the space that is in Desert Hot Springs, currently occupied by Palm Springs Unified. They're going to be relocating out of that space in June of 2015. So we're actively looking at that space to see if it fits.
If the fiscal part of that works for us, it would really help because it would be immediate an immediate place to offer classes, and maybe give us a chance to transition out of some other temporary agreements.
Absolutely.
But again, it's a dollar thing.
Absolutely. Okay, so just a summary. Our immediate needs, we're talking about the relocation of HR and fiscal, our Palm Desert campus, renovate the Hill Library and Building C, East Valley campuses, Phase 2 construction of the Mecca Thermal campus, and then West Valley continuing to work to secure that site and explore the opportunity in Desert Hot Springs.
Question, Lisa.
Yes.
Why are we tying Building C to the library when it seems to me that it could be a much faster fix?
They are both DSA, and we were looking at, they're really not tied together, but from a phasing construction standpoint, it's always less expensive to do two during the same construction
Right.
period. So that the only reason is that they would be a concurrent, and they're on this campus. So we looked at it as campus, different campuses. So just what we're recommending as two projects. So, but running together.
But does doing that slow down the development of Building C is my concern.
I don't believe so. They both would be bid separately, and they would, again, go through their own DSA process. They would not be construed in any way as one single project. So I've just lumped them here because they're on central campus.
Okay.
Okay. So if we look at timelines and available funding, so this is the piece that is most interesting to me. So relocation of it, fiscal and HR and the adjunct space. Again, we're estimating a cost of $300. I mean, really, we can do it cheaper than that. I think Mac's initial estimate was $225, but I'm always on the conservative side, so I bumped that up a little bit. The Hilb and Building C renovations. This also was about 18.7 million, and I've rounded it up, just blanking this 20 million for the central campus area here. I think if we look back and we looked at our capital projects report, we always go back to future projects and what those amounts were. I have to caution everyone, those amounts were on projects that were defined in 2008, and they also were defined in 2008 dollars. So we know, we believe, and again, MAC believes that the Hill building, actually, we can get done for less than what we thought. We didn't have Building C in the mix then, so that is a new project. But the estimate right now, knowing what we know about construction cost, is around $19 million. So 20 million, rounding up, for the central campus. Also going on simultaneously, again, this renovation January of 2015, because we want to be able to serve the students in the spring term in those swing spaces. Hilb Building C renovations and Phase 2 Mecca, those would be concurrent projects running at the same time. Anticipated cost here of about 15 million. Again, projected cost by MAC were right around 13.2. I'm always going to bump it up until we get the bids in. And I've put my little note down here, always the disclaimers about these are based on prior construction costs, and we won't know until we actually go to market with a bid on what those costs are going to be.
At Mecca, we're looking at a wet lab that can be used as a classroom.
Yes.
Correct.
And 3 other classrooms,
Correct.
3 additional classrooms.
Correct.
I think that all of us that have ever been at a meeting at Mecca Thermal Campus will remind you that we need to consider the air conditioners, because in this valley, we do use
Yes.
the air conditioners a lot, and the ones that we have over here and the ones we have down there can interfere with the ability to hear in a classroom. So
Absolutely.
we need to think about that. Also, we've talked that building, so to speak, down there was basically a prefab building. I mean, it
Correct.
wasn't like we bought it off the shelf. It was made special for us. But we've had some rather unhappy experiences with that. Not with those buildings, but well, actually with those buildings, but not once they were built. So I think we should look there to see whether we really go that way or whether we just put something there that matches. I don't think it'll matter to the students don't care.
Right.
They just want a class to go to school in.
And
They don't
actually, in today's dollars, it's actually cheaper to build than to
Yeah.
do the
care.
prefab
I
and
think
put
it
the
would be
stucco
less
and the.
exciting too.
And I think since we are looking at this mechathermal as more or less a long-term permanent.
Right, it's not just a temporary building.
We need
site.
air conditioning on the roof. We
Correct.
don't need those wall units because someone like me with a hearing loss, every time that goes on, I might as well just walk out the door because I don't hear a word that's going on because of the background noises. So I think we really need to take into consideration what we're doing there.
Well, that's
given
what I'm
our-
thinking, and I have no idea about construction. So I have no thoughts about that. I just know that has been a problem. Having a classroom that's big enough to actually put people in, because we can't afford classrooms and a meeting room, and classrooms come first. So we need to think about that. And then again, the point that we just need to do what's best. It doesn't have to be exactly what we did there before.
Well, I think the discussion is, for these areas, is that it be expandable space so that it can be both.
That would be nice.
Like the ground floor.
Right, right. That would be nice.
That way we have a community
Right,
room that
right.
we could have.
That would be nice. If that works, that would be nice. And wet labs, for those of us that have been in several wet labs, they also make a great kitchen, so, yeah.
And we did check out, we are limited, somewhat limited here because of the sewer system, but we did check to make sure that the wet lab could, or the sewer system could indeed withstand the wet lab needs. And so that is, but we
Right.
would be at capacity
Right.
with this build-out.
And
So-
we've asked those questions pretty directly. And all along, they have said that a wet lab would work. That we're kind of pushing the envelope if we look for a chemical wet lab. But on the other hand, that's really, I mean, with just the hoods part and stuff. But then again, that's really bumping up the cost. So there are ways to do that, but shouldn't be the emphasis of that lab.
Yeah.
Right.
I have one more question, I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what this is for.
The center or fountain of knowledge. I don't see it listed. Is it a dead at the door project?
It's not a dead door project, but it's not included in this recommendation. It would be part of the additional phasing for Central Campus that we would need to secure additional funds for.
We need a good donor.
So,
I need one in there too.
yes, so the only projects that we're talking about, again, this is a much smaller Central Campus redevelopment than was originally planned, but that is because we are running out of bond dollars. So knowing our student needs and student access comes first. The Palm Desert campus and the administration portions would be later.
I know ADA requirements, if you're not touching it, you don't have to touch it. So since we're not doing anything right around the fountain, we don't have to make it ADA compliant. Is
That's
why
correct.
we're assuming
That's
that?
absolutely correct. Yeah.
Okay, and we have not been etching the names of all the emeriti faculty
That's right.
in the last few years based on the idea that we were going to do something else with that.
Correct.
So that needs to be taken into consideration in our planning too.
I think that we do have plans for the Fountain of Knowledge, but it's tied in with the foundation, so not in this particular arena, but I don't think that is too far out in the future.
Just don't forget the emeriti.
Never, never.
So,
We want to get them off the ground and up into.
so we need the relocation, the first project. We need to have that done in January so we can begin opening up that bottleneck as soon as school comes back.
Correct.
We're going to extend the hours in Indio so that we can use some of that, supposing, so that we can have some of those classes in that area.
Correct.
Okay, are we going to need to use the Mecca area at the same time for that?
We are planning expanded offerings in Mecca as well.
Okay.
At all of our
See,
locations,
I
we
know
are
that
expanding.
I know that we have those particular classes.
Yes, in the spring, we are expanding at Desert Hot Springs, we are expanding at Palm Springs, we are expanding here, we are expanding at Indio as well as Mecca Thermal.
So where will we offer them in Desert Hot Springs in the spring?
At the school.
At the school,
Currently,
as
we're
we are
located
now?
at the high
Okay.
school.
At the high
Yes,
school. So
yes.
we're not
Great.
going to have that location.
That it isn't
Summer-
vacated until June.
Yeah,
That's
some,
right.
so
It's not
fall of
available even.
15 would be beginning
If
of
it-
that.
If it actually works out
If,
for us.
if it works, yes.
Right,
Yeah.
okay.
Now, I have a concern, the West Valley areas, is that including, or that's solely, I thought, was the Palm Springs, is that including Desert Hot Springs?
Yes,
when
it
you
is.
say West Valley areas?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So again, I just rounded that number. We took current construction costs per square foot at the 50,000 square foot estimate that we have, that we're going out for our EIR. And that's what that amount is there. So now, nice round numbers coming up to 75 million. And I'm going to again harp on my what's remaining, 82.5 million. So this puts our plan in place. These recommendations put the plan in place to move forward, utilizing the majority of our bond funds. So
And gives
we
us
would
a
be,
10%.
pardon?
And gives us a 10%
Yes,
cushion, not quite 10%, but
Correct.
close to it.
correct.
I thought last month we had 134 million or something
She
like
spent it.
that. You spent it
Well,
all.
we have current projects on the ground. We have to complete those projects. So again, I'm always conservative, so is the 82.5 going to be slightly more? Yes, it will. But when we get done with our current projects, we estimate having between 82 and 85 million.
What is the availability of state funding for building program? Nothing still?
No bonds on the measure, on the ballot anytime soon. So, and we are, by the way, out of the, we're not even in line,
Not even in line.
unfortunately. So our next source would be either to go out again for GeoBond or have a donor come in and solve all our problems.
Donor sounds good
So-
to me.
But anyway, this goes a long way to our mission of increased student access, building to our FTES base so that we have more funding, we're poised to continue to grow. The economic, I don't know if you've been reading, but the economic outlook is really positive right now as far as California goes, even though the stock market has taken a little tumble. But we really, the revenues that are coming in at the state level are significant.
Yes.
So,
Way above
Right.
expectations.
correct.
Yeah, and we're in a a good position in terms of being able to capture growth dollars that are available, and some of those dollars will be from our neighboring districts that aren't able to grow. So it's really a really good time, and the plans that we're putting in place, especially for Indio, will take us over the 1,000 FTES marker by the end of next fiscal year, which means it'll be considered a center, and will be eligible for an additional a little over $1 million a year. So there's some real positive things.
And middle school status too, should we get there in the next couple of years, is about another 1.2 million for the.
So
for us.
how
So-
long, if that we decide that that's how we're going to focus, and we move forward on the middle college, how long, I'm just looking for a ballpark thought, is it from here to, in reality, having those students on our campus?
We're currently exploring that because it is a relatively new topic for most of us in community colleges. The state affords a 1-year planning grant for the development of charter schools. And so I think it's fair to say between 1 to 2 years may be the planning and implementation. And because most begin with a 9th grade only, and then a 9th and a 10th grade the following, and the 9th and 10th and 11th, it could likely be a full 4 years before you saw the entire school implemented.
Is this what they have at Riverside Community College? They have something similar to this?
Yes, they do.
I
At
thought
Norco, I believe at Norco.
Is it Norco? I know.
I think it's at
They,
Norco.
they had it.
Is it Riverside?
The middle. Was it Norco?
Yeah.
How many students do you think about serving at that time?
We are going to have to determine that.
No, and I'm not asking you exactly. I'm saying, are we thinking about a 30-student class? Are we thinking about a 60-student class? Are
Well,
we looking at a 600-student class?
I like to dream big.
Well, yes, I know,
so-
but I also know how many classrooms we have and those
Yeah.
things. So that's what I'm trying to imagine.
I think we're looking at around 500. I mean, that would be fully implemented.
That would be 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grade?
Yes.
Okay.
lot of
That's
people.
all I'm just thinking.
I have another question. What about that bill that was, that legislation that just came across about four-year universities availability for community colleges?
Yeah.
Have we investigated that at all?
We are in the preliminary discussion phase for that. The Chancellor's Office has announced the timeline for the acceptance of RFPs from districts who are seeking to be a part of the pilot program. They are going to select 15 districts to participate in the pilot. So of the 72, it'll be a competitive process, and 15 will be selected. Our Academic Senate is beginning to have some discussions about that. This week I sent some information out to our campus community with a link to some information specifically about that. As a reminder, those degrees are limited to professional and technical areas. So in other words, a program with a vocational top code, and they cannot be offered by your neighboring CSU or UC. So it does narrow the options for us. And so when everybody jumps to nursing, we're reminded that our local CSU offers nursing. But there are other areas that could be potentials for us. And so I think we're going to be discussing very quickly whether or not we want to invest in submitting an RFP, and we'll have more to report about this next month.
We
Very
have
good.
golf and heating and air unique to us, so we could
There you
maybe
go.
be.
The Golf Academy.
Yeah, I'll take that under consideration.
And I just wanted to clarify my earlier comment about the middle college was not that, it's about size of middle. If
Oh,
we
okay, being a
grow up to
middle-sized
90,
college,
yeah,
gotcha.
above 9,400, when we do that, not
Yes.
if, but when we
Or-
do
or
that,
middle
will
college.
get us annual
Middle-sized.
revenues of additional
Oh,
1 point.
okay, excellent.
Okay.
Right, and
So
that's
just
why,
clarity. So.
yes, that's why the push toward India was.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So next steps then, again, this is our final slide. I should have had one that said next steps, but I didn't get there. Next steps would be, these are staff recommendations. Because this is a study session, there's no action that is, but we will be bringing these forward as items for consideration at future meetings. So, and then at that point in time, the board would be available to weigh in, to say yes or no. So.
I want to just make some comments. I think that, I know you, a lot of this is in the planning stages, but I hope that this has been shared or will be shared across the campus. As I'm personally very impressed today, I don't know about the other board members, this is the first time I've actually can remember where we had a cohesive plan being developed based on facts.
Yes.
And since I've been on the board, and even since before I was on the board,
Yes.
there are factual data that tell us what to do and why to do it. And I hope that everyone gets this information, that we're not just developing programs out of thin air.
Right.
There are reasons why we are doing things. The train is leaving the station. Get on board, because if you don't, we're going to leave you behind. We have to, I mean, we're doing stuff based on facts now instead of let's just build a Taj Mahal somewhere and call it something. This has value, and I appreciate all the time and energy
Yes.
that everyone has put into this. Thank you. You too back there.
Absolutely. Keep going, because I don't want to go to negotiations.
Not good.
Never should have said that one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you so
Lisa,
much.
and
Yes. And when we save this agenda, I do want to be sure that this information is saved with it. As I was saying, when we look back at what's happened, it's kind of nice to be able to see exactly what was discussed and what happened. And someone 10 years from now can look at this and go, oh, that's why they decided to put a wet lab at Mecca Thermal Campus. You know? So that, I appreciate that very much. Did we decide that we needed to go back and finish that discussion that we had in closed session?
I believe so,
Okay,
yes.
so we are going to do that. We are going to recess back to closed session. That's the right word? Okay,
Okay.
whatever. Carlos will tell me. But since I don't expect to have an audience when I come back, I do want to remind you that we will be adjourning this meeting when we do in memory of Mr. Stan Dupre.
may I mention one item also? We will be having a Family Resource Center fair October 22nd out in Desert Hot Springs. And I hope College of the Desert could be, thank you, Scott.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you. To be the representative. This is where all the resources, thank you so much.